WGN Sports.
We are coming to you from Camelback Ranch, Glendale, where this afternoon WGN Sports presents White Sox baseball. It's Paul Konerko, Adam Dunn, Robin Ventura's White Sox as they get set to take on Dale Swaim's Chicago Cubs. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Ken Harrelson with Steve Stone as we get set to bring you today's action between these crosstown rivals. And, Stevie, another year, buddy. This is the fifth for you and I, and we're looking forward to a big year.
Well, it was so exciting last year until the very end, and this year I expect that there's going to be something similar on the south side. However, on the north side, things a little bit different, Hawk. First of all, they're waiting for Almora, they're waiting for Soler, they're waiting for Baez. While they're doing that, they're pretty happy about Rizzo and Castro. But the reality is, the Cubs lost 101 games last year, and this year it doesn't look a whole lot brighter. For our ball club, we're expected to contend with Detroit. They're a super team. And Detroit is one of those teams where they have some weakness at the back end of the bullpen. We have a better bullpen than they do. You've said time and time again we catch the ball better than they do. So there is a lot of hope on the south side this year. Last year, Paulie Konerko, along with the rest of the team, stopped hitting in September. What was the reason Paulie did it, and what's he doing different now?
We had a lead on September 18th.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, just a week before prior to that, we had a 3-game lead. But everything in baseball is contagious, as we all know. When you hit, everybody hits. When you go into a slump or a funk, everybody goes into a slump or a funk. There was a lot of pressure, and that was one reason we couldn't score any runs. But I think also, in concert with what you just said, we had one thing last year that we couldn't buy, and that was our young pitchers getting all that great experience coming down in a pennant race.
Well, they did do that, and this year they're going to be the beneficiaries of that, and hopefully everything gels. So I believe it's going to be exciting, and I know you do also.
All right, Gavin Floyd on the bump this afternoon. Chicago White Sox baseball is brought to you by Miller Lite. It's not just a good time, it's Miller time. And by Ford, proud sponsor of your Chicago White Sox. Check out America's freshest lineup of fuel-efficient vehicles at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com.
Chicago White Sox baseball in high definition is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. What a beautiful day here in Arizona, especially here at Camelback Ranch in Glendale. It's supposed to be 94 degrees today. Beautiful day for baseball. The wind not much of a factor, as both of these teams hoping that the spring ends with no injuries, hoping that the team starts to come together later in the spring. As they start, the Cubs are 8-11 heading into action today. The Sox on the other side, 8-7 with 2 ties. Now, after the game, this Cub team is going to head to Las Vegas. The Sox are going to continue their spring. And for the Sox, it's been one of those springs where there isn't a whole lot of competition. However, there still is a job open as utility infielder. Connor Gillespie looks terrific, a guy who can play first and third and hit the baseball. He's shown that. There might be a spot in the outfield. We don't know exactly. Catching looks nailed down, as do most of the positions. The only question mark, John Danks, will he be ready for opening day? And there's Robin Ventura, and let's take a look at how Dale Swaim is going to line up his Chicago Cubs today. Luis Valbuena leading it off at third. Darwin Barney at second base. Starlin Castro at shortstop. Nate Schierholtz in right field. Scott Hairston, the DH. Yanner Navarro, who's had a good spring catching. Brian Bogasevic playing left field. Darnell McDonald in center field. And Brad Nelson is at first base. Defensively, this is how they line up behind Gavin Floyd. Diane Vicieto in left, Jordan Danks in center, Dwayne Wise is in right. Brett Morrell gets a nod at third base with Alexi Ramirez, Gordon Beckham, and Adam Dunn rounding out the infield. Hector Jimenez behind the plate. Tyler Flowers a late scratch with some back problems, and Gavin Floyd on the hill coming off a 12-11 season. And Floyd, as happens so often with guys that live and die with a real good curveball, is trying to sharpen it up here in Arizona. Now, bear in mind, this is a rock-hard infield. Ground balls that would be sucked up during the regular season find their way through here, so ERAs are most misleading. So far for the White Sox, it's been, and blissfully so, a highly uneventful spring. Most of the guys who you look to be healthy are healthy. Robin says this year's a lot more comfortable. He knows the guys, and he feels pretty good about it. So we're ready to play baseball, and for the first time this year, I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. And once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to White Sox baseball right here with WGN Sports. So happy you could join us as Luis Valbuena gets set to lead it off for the Cubs. And as Steve mentioned, just a gorgeous afternoon for anything, especially our first telecast of White Sox baseball. As there's first pitch strike from Gavin Valbuena, 27-year-old infielder, hitting .333 on the spring with a homer and 2 RBIs, and Valbuena has always hit us well. There's a curveball. Steve, you were a breaking ball pitcher, and you got to think one thing. It's a lot tougher to get your curveball going out here in Arizona than it is in Florida.
There is no doubt about it. Florida with the humidity, Florida with the moisture in the air. It's real easy for breaking ball pitchers to find that release point. Here, even when you make a good curveball, more times than not, it doesn't break quite as sharp.
Straightens him up with that one. And the count 1-2. And here at beautiful Camelback Ranch, Glendale, 345 down the lines, 380 in the gaps, and 410 dead away center. He gone. Hook. One down.
Well, Valbuena looks to be in a battle with Ian Stewart at third base. Only Ian Stewart hasn't battled all that much, so it looks like the nod's going to go to Valbuena. Good curveball low and in. Valbuena, a lifetime .224 hitter who hit .219 last year. Looks like he's going to win the opening day job at third base.
Here's a good player, Darwin Barney. Darwin is one of those throwbacks. Tough, hard-nosed kid at second base. That's going away.
And what you really have to like about Barney is, number one, he will work the count, and number two, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, this young man comes through with some big hits, and more times than not, they're to right and right center field.
I know since he's been in that Cub uniform, he's hurt us in that interleague play. As there's a strike.
And on a team that strikes out a whole lot, Darwin Barney makes contact.
What kind of a pitch count do they have Gavin on today?
I talked to Robin, and he said they'd like to see him go 5 innings. And, of course, that presupposes he gets through the 5 without a whole lot of pitches.
Curveball a little bit high.
Now, during the regular season, that ball would have broken enough to be a strike. Here, just doesn't bite quite as much.
Checks it up. Little comeback or 2 down.
And let's take a look at the umpires for the game today. Well, that's kind of interesting. Those are not the umpires for today. They will be the umpires eventually, but just they're not out here. Hey, it's spring training for everybody, folks.
So here's Castro. Very talented young shortstop, hitting at 283. Last year with the Cubs, 14 homers and 78 knocked in. Fouls that back.
And I know, Hawk, that you think this guy is one of the most promising young players in the game.
No question. No question about it. It's the last time I saw a player this young with that kind of plate coverage was a big hurt Frank Thomas when he first came into the league.
Do you see him eventually? I mean, he's a big, strong kid. Do you see him eventually sliding to third? Because they've got Javier Baez, who looks like he's going to be all everything coming at shortstop.
Yeah, when they get a phenom defensively coming up, that's when they will think about moving him to breaking pitch. Can't get it to third base, but he is really, and like Barney in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, Castro is a force to deal with. Outfield slightly to the right, gap out there in left center.
What Don Cooper did for Gavin Floyd was give him a cutter to use when the curveball hasn't come to him yet, or early in the game when he doesn't have the feel for the breaking ball. It gives him one more pitch and one more weapon. And last year, he adjusted to it pretty well. This year, it actually should be better.
Got a good pitch to hit right there. Jams himself, fouls it away, and that's going to be in the seats.
This is one when it leaves your hand, you want to take it back. That's a hanging curveball. And probably another 100 at bats for Castro, and that one's out of the ballpark.
Two out, 2 balls, 2 strikes here in the top of the first if you're just tuning in. There was a good fastball. Fouled away right side. Bob Borwall, executive producer for WGN Sports, was telling us earlier that last year, for the first part of the season, there was only one time that he swung and did not make contact, foul tip, did not make contact with the baseball. But he did it right there. That's going to get a few of them. 1, 2, 3 for Floyd after happening in plays. Their guys, nothing, and our guys coming to bat.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at how Robin Ventura is going to line them up. It's going to be Wise, Ramirez, and Dunn, followed by Konerko, Viciedo, and Morel. Then Danks, Jimenez, and Beckham at second base, hitting 9. The defense and how they'll line up behind Scott Feldman. Bogusevic, McDonald, and Sherholtz in the infield. Valbuena, Castro, Barney, and Nelson. Donner, Navarro behind the plate. And on the hill, Scott Nelson, hoping to make amends for last year. 6-7, the ERA 5.09. He was pitching in Texas, a tough place to pitch. He got 21 starts. Opponent's batting average very high against him. And he lives and dies with a sinker. If you see him throwing ground balls early, he's probably going to be effective. If not, it's going to be a tough day for him. So Feldman looking for a bounce back here.
And before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours as Dwayne Wise. Been swinging the bat very well. Couple of homers, 5 RBIs. Couldn't get that one. And count 0-2. Wise last year with us hit .258, 5 homers, and drove in 22. Ball hit hard, yanked foul. The Sox, as Steve mentioned in the opening, knock on wood, have had a very uneventful spring. And Johnny Danks, of course, who is working to recover from that arm surgery last August. And what do you get on Danks?
I think the velocity is down a bit, and I think that right now, although he's improving with each and every start, it's not quite where they want it to be. Right now, it's still flip a coin if he's going to be ready for opening day. If he's not, Dylan Axelrod is having a magnificent spring. And he could certainly be the guy that steps in to fill that spot if John is not 100% and throwing the fastball hard enough. And the reason he has to have velocity, Hawk, is not necessarily the velocity. He has to have that difference between the fastball and the changeup. Because if he doesn't have that, if he can't establish a good fastball, that changeup is not going to be that effective.
Count hangs at 2-2. Ball hit hard into left field. Bogusevic back, hauls it in, and that's a line shot out. So 1 down. That'll bring up Alexei Ramirez. Well, Johnny, of course, is a very important part of the puzzle for us in 13. If he's healthy and he's out there, we have a real good 5 starters.
Well, the main thing is to make sure that when John does come back, he has the confidence that he is 100% healthy.
Well, you know, he's one of those guys that he'll take the ball. He's not afraid to go out there when he doesn't feel good or he doesn't have his good stuff and still try to keep in a ball game. But that, as you mentioned, that's one thing you got to watch out for, because he's liable to overdo it. No balls, 2 strikes to Alexei. Alexei, 375 on the spring. Last year hit 265, 9 homers, but he drove in 73 and he played a magnificent shortstop. Flips that one into right field. 2 down. And time now for our picks to click, brought to you by BMW. Stone Pony is going to go with Dwayne Wise. Crew's going to go with Viciedo. And all the guys out at the golf club Scottsdale: Dave Fairman, Dave Warshot, Paulie, Harry Lustgarten, Jeff Blakemore. We're going to go with Brent Morel. We're trying to convert, Steve, you're trying to convert Harry Lustgarten from Cubism to Soxism.
How's it going?
Not too good yet.
Well,
he's hard-headed.
They are an optimistic lot.
Is that a setback? That's him.
That's it.
He's an optimist. He's an optimist. And of course, those picks to click Brought to you by BMW. Be prepared for inclement weather this season with a BMW 3 Series with xDrive all-wheel drive technology, and visit your local Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana BMW Center today to test drive one.
The projected rotation for the Cubs was Garza, Samardzija, Jackson, Wood, and Baker. Well, then they got Feldman, so he fell in. However, it looks like Baker and Garza are going to be on the disabled list. And then that other spot is Villanueva's now.
Well, Samardzija is just a 18-20 game winner, sitting in the wings waiting to come out and break out.
His stuff last year was so improved over what it has been. I think Jeff Samardzija is probably going to have a breakout season. And if you can go to the hill with the stuff that he goes with and the disposition that he has, you're going to be very successful in this or any league.
Yep. That's low. Good eye by Adam. 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes here in the bottom of the first. Samardzija's got everything it takes, externally and internally. Another foul ball. Paulie on deck.
There's Chris Bosio. He's the pitching coach. He's got his work cut out for him. He does have one left-hander in that bullpen. That's Jeff Russell. But a youngster by the name of Hector Rondon is making his case to be the second left-hander. You need a couple of them, you'd think.
Good eye. Full count. Well, Bosio, we talked about Samardzija having it externally and internally. Bosio was one of those guys that had a lot of it internally.
Yeah, he was. He didn't lack for meanness on the hill.
No. And the payoff. Yeah, Bosio was one of those guys like our Jack McDowell. They'd go out there sometimes with absolutely nothing, and first thing you know, 7th inning, it's still a 2-1 ball game.
This is a real interesting confrontation because the strength of Feldman is the sinker. The strength of Adam Dunn is hitting low fastballs.
And a workmanlike at bat for Adam. So here's Paulie. Paulie on the spring, hitting at 355, 5 balls, 9 RBIs.
Last season, those numbers could have been a whole lot better, but he had a wrist problem and he had it taken care of with postseason surgery. He's come back 100% and said he feels as good as he's ever felt.
First pitch strike. Well, Paulie has been a guy who's been a player who would play with pain, play with injuries, as was Frank Thomas. Trying to take that one into right center and fouls it away. So the count 0-2.
Frank, a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I would be absolutely shocked if he didn't get in first. He might just win the table. First ballot Hall of Famer, no question about it. He's still got numbers that it's going to be hard for anybody to approach his first 8 years in the game. Good pitch on an 0-2 count, and a good take by Paulie.
That ball just missing the outside corner. Navarro wanted it. Feldman threw it in a perfect spot.
There's a solid single to right. So with 2 out, 2 on, that'll bring up Tanks. And you can cancel the postgame show for Feldman.
That's one of the reasons why Paulie is at or above 300 every year. his ability to take the pitch the opposite way when he doesn't get the pitch that he can drive out of the ballpark.
Tanks at 323, a homer, 4 RBIs on the spring. Just watching him batting practice this spring, he is really trying to stay closed with his left shoulder and hit the ball into right center. And that's a good thing for young players. There's a B pitch right there. He didn't like it, but it's called a strike to even the count at 1.
You think that's the one thing that he has to do to go to the next level? I mean, right now you make a mistake, he hits it as hard as anybody, but he's so victimized with breaking balls away.
There's a couple of ways that he can combat that. Talking with one of our young hitters the other day about it. You can create your own strike zone, and you can do that by moving around in the box, especially him against right-handed pitchers with good breaking balls. You know yourself, I've talked to a bunch of pitchers who had good curveballs and a bunch of pitchers who had knuckleballs. Joe Niekro, Phil Niekro, the guys of that ilk. And they just don't like to throw breaking pitches or knuckleballs to strong right-handed hitters, the right-handers I'm talking about, who stand close to the plate. Now you're a little different. You like to throw a pitch to right-handers who stood close to the plate.
But I didn't like to see him up in the box.
Right.
I mean, up in the box takes a little bit away from me. Back in the box gives a little bit to me.
Well, you can take a little bit of that breaking ball away from the right-hander. There's a shot, line shot, caught by Brad Nelson. So a good at bat right there for Tanks. Meanwhile, 1 score.
In celebration.
Nate Schierholtz will lead it off here in the top of the 2nd inning. Schierholtz hitting at 321, a homer, 6 knocked in on the spring. Off balance, good movement, and 0-1 to count.
Nate looks to be their starting right fielder this year. That's what he did last year. Not your prototypical corner outfielder. Doesn't have that kind of pop.
That's trouble. So the swinging bunt single. And a man aboard leading off. And tickets for the 2013 season are on sale right now. Prices have been greatly reduced for nearly all games, and the schedule is full of great matchups, promotional nights, family Sundays, and post-game fireworks. So purchase your tickets today by visiting WhiteSox.com or calling 866-SOX-GAME.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's 100 here.
Scott Hairston.
Hairston is probably going to be in a platoon system. He's going to be the right-handed counterpart in right field. And normally it's the left-hand hitter that gets the majority of the play because the majority of the starters are right-handed.
One and one to count. I was talking with his dad, Jerry Hairston, of course, who was in our organization, has been for many, many years, as was his granddad, Sam. Big part of the legacy of the White Sox franchise. And Jerry, of course, was a very fine pinch hitter for us. Always has a smile on his face.
Well, it's a baseball playing family with Sam, Scott, Jerry Sr., Jerry Jr. Sam was a good man. He was a coach when I got here in 1973.
Off the end of the bat, right to the bag and rack him up. That didn't take long. 2 down.
Kevin Floyd has to love this. The curveball off the end of the bat, and with the runner going, Gordon's right there, and it's an easy 4-3.
That'll bring up Deanna Navarro, switch hitting catcher, hitting at .250, a couple of homers, 8 RBIs. Of course, we remember Deanna when he was down in Tampa Bay, and he was harmful, hurtful to us.
Well, they think they've got a pretty good catching duo with Wellington Castillo and Deanna Navarro.
Ground ball. Nice pick. And to peg the arm of Beckham gets it. So a little scratch infield bunt single. Double play. Beautiful play by Beckham after an inning and a half. Still not out. No score, bottom of the second inning. Our first televised game. We will have a total of 6 coming your way. We will have the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 26th, and 27th. Hey, Stevie, I don't know about you, but this my wife Eris and I have been talking about it. This has been, without question, the fastest going spring we have ever experienced. I mean, it just seems like, of course, we're going to break early this year on the 27th.
Right. We're going to do that. You've got the World Baseball Classic in the middle of spring. Guys reported a lot earlier than they normally do, and we're ready to play games earlier than they were. So that and the fact that here we are doing our first televised game, and we're more than halfway through the spring. It has gone very quickly. I'm not sure the players would agree with us, but
no, they won't.
For us, it has.
First pitch inside to Brent Morrell. Brent hitting at 226. Couple of homers, 3 RBIs on the spring. Last year only had 259 at-bats trying to recoup from that back surgery, and I have not seen one incident, any evidence that hits him, of him having any back problems. Now, I have seen some incidents of rustiness, but not from the back.
Well, I know they try and to move him around, giving him a look at shortstop, some look at second base. Obviously, third base is his position, but you see him being able to catch on as more utility guy, or, you know, taking the spot if Jeff Keppinger has an arm problem.
Well, that is the reason that, one of the reasons I should say, that he is here. Because if his back's all right, he's a major league third baseman. And if his back's all right, just like Harold and everybody else said, he's going to hit. And that ball hit deep into right field. Stretch! He looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes! Two-run blast by Jordan Danks, and the Sox lead it 2-0.
First home run of the spring by Jordan, a no-doubter. And Feldman will give up a few if that sinker isn't sinking. We told you about that earlier, and in Arizona, sinker ball pitchers have a tough time. And that ball went way back.
So here's Jimenez. Hector, a late starter, just joining us. Tyler Flowers was he was in the original lineup, but stiff back, and they put Hector in there, who last year, the times we saw him play, well, he was 5 for 11. He looked good at the bat and behind the plate.
And with Tyler swinging the bat the way he's swinging it, Robin feels very comfortable with his catching situation.
Jeff Manto, the hitting coach, who did such a fine job last year, especially with Alex Rios, said that Tyler is really swinging the bat good.
But when he's hitting it to center field, which is what he did a couple of times the other day, and he can take it out in any part of the ballpark. When he's hitting it to center field, he's as tough as anybody around.
Got the back door and missed. That's out of play. And even though his name starts with a G, it is pronounced Jimenez. Outfield, for the most part, straight up. Equidistant. Got him. One down. And Sox fans, opening day is April 1st at 3:10 p.m. versus the Kansas City Royals. All there are is 15-2 down here. All fans will receive a 2013 White Sox magnetic schedule and rally towel presented by U.S. Cellular, the exclusive wireless provider of the White Sox. So purchase your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com or calling 866-SOX-GAME. Beckham also has been swinging the bat well. Last year at 16 homers, drove in 60, hitting at 270 on the spring with 1 homer and 6 RBIs. The breaking ball popped up. Valbuena. 2 down.
And I talked with Jeff Maddow, and he said that he loosened Gordon's top hand. What does that mean for a hitter?
Well, when you've got the bat in a vertical position with the right hand, it's going to cause a little tension in there. You have to, because to hold the bat up in that vertical position. He's got him laying it off now, and so instead of having his hand in this position where it's going to have to cause some stress in there, he now lays it on top of it, and it's an easier starting point. Now, strong guys, if you call Dick Allen, guys like that. Another one was Eric Davis when he broke in with Cincinnati. Those guys were a lot stronger than Gordon, so they did not ask foul ball. They had the strength to hold that bat in the right position. Rico Carty was another guy with the Atlanta Braves. But when you get smaller guys, unless you're a Jimmy Wynn or somebody like that who played with the Houston Astros and could hit them as far as anybody at 5'6", then you're better off in a laid-off position. And I think it's going to be beneficial for him. Now, when he starts his motion, the bat head does come up, so he's getting it cocked in. The other way, it would be too far over, and now he had too much movement to get it back to the hitting zone. Dwayne Wise is called out, but Jordan Danks' first homer of the spring. It is 2-0 Good Guys. Two nothing Good Guys here in the top of the third inning. It'll be Brian Bogusevic, Darnell McDonald, and Brad Nelson to face Gavin Floyd. And now joining us down in our dugout is our second-year manager, who last year did such a marvelous job in bringing this ball club to an 85-77 mark, just missing the divisional title by 3 games. Robin Ventura. And Robin, welcome, buddy. And it's been a nice spring.
It has. It has been a nice spring. It's been a long one, but it's been nice. It's one of those that we've been able to see a lot of young guys. They got to play a lot early, so that there's silver linings to everything.
Well, Steve and I were just talking about how short it's been.
Yeah, we feel in this our first broadcast that this thing has moved along pretty well.
All right, we can arrange that. We can arrange that for next year.
Well, you've got to be very, very pleased. We had a terrific season last year. We had a lead on September 18th. Couldn't finish it off, but finished 3 games back of the Tigers. And this year, you got a better ball club.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. We're disappointed, like everybody was about the end. But I look at it. That's sports. We have guys that effort-wise, it was there. It just didn't happen. And I just told these guys to put it behind them, and we're ready to play this year.
Tell us about Johnny Danks.
He's coming along. It's one of those. I think he's not at full strength. He's still going out there. He's pain-free, which is great. But I don't think he's got his full strength back. Going out there and battling. But he's coming along.
How about Jeff Keppinger as far as his shoulder is concerned, and when can we expect to see him?
Well, he's been out. He was going to play yesterday. He's been gone dealing with a family issue. So it's you know, as far as playing wise and shoulder wise, he's fine. We were going to get him in there yesterday, and now he's a couple days back. But as far as throwing, he should be ready to go. You know, hitting wise, he's been locked in since we got here.
Yeah, with his style of hitting and his thought process and his approach, it doesn't take him long to get warm at all.
No, he was ready to go right when he got here. I think you know, swinging the bat, he's been doing a lot of great things in these games.
Well, Robin, do you feel the same way as I do about the 2-hole? As there's a big curve ball, couldn't get it. He gone. One down. About the 2-hole being so important to a contending ball club, you got to have a guy in there who the manager, in this case it's you, has confidence that he's going to make contact, and then it frees you up.
Well, it does. I think, again, you know, last year that just seemed to be a spot for us that you know, we struggled at times in that spot. So you know, once we got Yuga, it got a little bit better. But you know, starting the year and you got a guy like him that's going to be in that spot, you feel confident. There's a lot of different things that he can do that we weren't able to do last year. That you know, I think he's going to be great, whether it's there or you know, sometimes batting third.
Well, a lot of our Sox fans remember Tadahito Iguchi back in '05, and that just set up the whole season for an example, because he got everybody in a great frame of mind. Get him over, and get him in.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's part of the game that needs to happen. I think when you get guys, you get them in scoring position, you get them in. So, you know, again, having a guy like that can handle the bat, you know, it just frees it up for everybody else.
You have a very strong bullpen, Robin, and I think that's been one of the strengths of this team. And as far as the guys coming along to this point, I know you have to raise them differently than you do for starters, but how's the bullpen looked overall?
They've looked fine. Again, you know, last year coming into this, we had a lot of spots that were open that, you know, guys went out and earned it last year of coming into this point as far as Jones and, you know, Reed and Santiago last year ended up, you know, kind of filling those spots and making us feel confident that they can handle it over the course of the year. So coming into this year, it's a bit different with those guys coming in. They act different too. I think they've come into spring training feeling like they belong.
Well, you know, last year we came into spring training, Robin. There were 4 spots open in that bullpen. We didn't have a closer, and we had a first-year manager. And boy,
the last one was the problem. I'll tell you that.
And boy, did things work out nicely, as we talked about earlier today. We did something last year against Kansas City no other team in Major League history has ever done. That's we used 10 rookie pitchers in one game and won the ball game 9-4. So those guys, as we mentioned, they gained some absolute invaluable experience.
Well, not only going through the year and you know, belonging and things like that, but they were in a pennant race, and you know, those are things that not every team gets to experience, and especially in your first year. So it's one of those things that it's kind of a feather in the cap and the experience that they need moving forward.
You got to be pleased with the way Tyler Flowers has been swinging the bat.
He is. Again, he's doing that and catching great. So, you know, it's with him and Hector, we feel confident that we're going to be able to fill that spot and have some guys in there that compete and get the job done.
Little soft ground ball, takes a bad hop, jumps up and bites Beckham. Well, Robin, thanks for the time, buddy. We have 5 games remaining, and we will be talking to you again.
All right.
Robin Ventura. We're happy he's here.
I thought he just did a remarkable job last year. Quite frankly, a whole lot better than I thought he was going to do, because I had no doubt that he knew the X's and O's. I mean, he played long enough, and he was a smart enough player where he knew when to bunt, hit and run, that aspect of it. But he handled the players so well. I mean, he was so positive, yet he let them know that he was in command of the situation, and I think they both liked and respected him. And Hawk, that's not something that comes easily.
Well, he's that kind of an individual, as I've said many times. He's certainly one of my very at the top of the list. He and Mark Burley are my favorite all-time White Sox individuals since I've been here for almost, well, over 30 years. And the thing about him last year to me is the fact that he didn't try to reinvent the wheel. As far as handling pitchers goes, as you mentioned, you prefaced it perfectly. He knew the game. That's not the issue. It was how was he going to adjust to handling players, because that is the name of the game. As that will end this inning. They threaten, can't score, and we'll go to the bottom of the third, leading 2-0. And you can join the White Sox Kids Club, presented by the University of Chicago Medicine Center, Medicine Comer Children's Hospital. We are teaming up to promote a healthy lifestyle and combat childhood obesity. Members will receive free White Sox tickets and cool, exclusive Kids Clubs items. So visit whitesox.com to join the club. As we lead it 2-0 here in the bottom of the third, 2 runs on 2 hits. The big blast, 2-run homer by Jordan Danks. As here is Alexei. Alexei 0 for 1, went out to Sharholtz in right field. Scott Feldman, big guy, 6'7", 230 pounds, born in Kailua, Hawaii.
Is there any way that Ramirez can stop from starting slowly? Because he seems to heat it up as the year moves along.
I wish I knew that answer. Boy, if I did, I could put it in written form and make a whole bunch of golf balls.
Is it just temperature? I mean, is that a big factor?
It could be. On the other side of that page, I have seen Latin hitters who started off the season, you couldn't get them out. You know, so it's all individual. I don't think there's a definitive answer. If there is one, it would have to be it's in his mind.
Yeah. True.
It's a mindset.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it gets there, then you got a big problem.
Yeah. You know, offensively last year, I don't think, even though he drove in some big runs, drove in 73 of them, but I don't think he can have a worse, for him, offensive season than he had last year.
No, I think he'd be the first to tell you that he was disappointed with his output.
Got a hanger right there out in front.
And one of the things, Hawk, that I think that nobody has talked about very much, but I view it as a tremendous advantage for the National League and something to be concerned about if you're an American League pitcher. From day one, we're going to play interleague games. Now, normally, when we started interleague games was the end of May, beginning of June. Guys had gotten their bodies in shape. The weather was warmer. Now, the American League pitchers are going to have to bat, but more importantly, they're going to have to run the bases in cold weather, and that's a tremendous advantage for the National League. But also, that's going to be something to bear in mind when you see pitchers occasionally go down with leg problems, and I think you're going to see it early in the American League.
Yeah, it's not swinging the bat, it's running the bases.
Nope, that's it.
And that's going to be something we're just going to have to adjust. But you know yourself, athletes, they've always amazed me on how quickly they can adjust. You get a guy out there throwing 105 miles an hour, he might blow you away the first time. The second time you see him, if he's fairly straight, you're going to be dangerous. So they can make those adjustments, but it is going to be an advantage for the National League, no question.
And because they're used to doing it, have done it from the beginning, and the American League pitchers don't usually do it until the weather is pretty warm.
3-0 the count to Adam. Turn him
at
loose.
Dale Swaim, the skipper. Just a tough year last year.
He didn't have anything to work with.
No. 61 and 101, and they realized they had to unload a whole lot of contracts.
And he 3-0s a base hit. No, they didn't have anything to work with. Dale is a good, solid baseball man.
Well, I think he was really the right pick in what's going to be not only a rebuilding year, it's going to most likely be a rebuilding 2.5 years. Perhaps 3 years. And that's one of the reasons why they picked Dale, because they realized that he could work well with the young players. And also, the organization let him know that they're not looking for miracles, because there's going to be no miracles there.
No. Here's Pauly. Sharp single to right field. Dale has got his hands full. And usually what happens in a scenario like this when a club is trying to, in essence, rebuild, which they are. And today's game is a little bit different than it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. There's really only one way to rebuild. And it's two ways, actually, to rebuild. The first one is lose every year so you can get #1 draft picks.
Yeah.
And the other one is spend money. Those are the only two ways. So, and usually what happens when the manager's in Dale's position is that ball hit hard into left center field. Nobody's going to get it. One hops the fence. Adam. He'll cruise into third on the double by Pauly. So Pauly now hitting .355 coming in. 2 for 2. But what will happen is you take another look at this double by Pauly. In this case, Dale will have to go through and suffer the season that he did last year. He'll have to go through and suffer probably the season he's going to have this year and probably next year. And then when things start to get on the right track, they'll fire him and bring in somebody to get him to the next level.
Well, look, the owner, Tom Ricketts.
That's usually what happens.
Well, yes. In talking with Jed Hoyer, talking with Theo Epstein, the architects of this organization, said, I want to grow it the right way. And Theo had some very good minor leaguers with the Boston Red Sox. I mean, you know, he had Ellsbury, he had Pedroia. Those are pretty good guys to come out of your system. And there's a base hit. It's going to score 2 with Viciedo sliding into second base, driving in runs number 5 and 6 on a little looper into right center field. Scherholtz fell down, couldn't get to it anyway. It was going to score 2. And it's a 4-0 game.
And Pauly read that perfectly. That's when you know where your outfielders are. Youngsters out there, you always, as a base runner before the pitch, that's the last thing you do is check your outfielders. So here is Morrell. He was hit by a pitch and scored. That was last inning. There's just a get me over breaking ball on first pitch, which normally is taken by the hitter. Oh, and 2 the count. Another hook.
But talking about what the Cubs were trying to do is they went out. They paid pretty good money for Jorge Soler, and a lot of people like him better than Yoenis Cespedes. And Cespedes we saw burst on the scene with Oakland, and he was damaging.
He's the real deal.
He is the real deal. And if Soler is anywhere close to that, or as some say can exceed that, he's going to be a terrific player for the Cubs. Same thing with Javier Baez, who was a draft choice. Same thing with Alberto Almora. So there is a bright future. The present not too rosy, and they have patience.
Good eye. Good take. A lot of times, Steve, you've been around a long time as I have. A lot of times it's very difficult to have a general manager and a manager both having patience.
Well, when the owner is in your corner and tells you that's the way that he would like things done, gives you a lot more confidence.
He got a cookie right there and couldn't do anything with it.
Here's our fourth drive of the game. And it's Jordan Danks who came up. No score in the game. He had Morrell at first base, and he quickly made it 2-0 on his first home run of the spring. Ford, proud sponsor of your Chicago White Sox. Check out America's freshest lineup of fuel-efficient vehicles at your local Ford store or localfordstores.com.
Since I've been here, I've asked a couple of guys. I asked them, I said, does Jordan Danks look stronger this spring than he did last year? And the response I got from both those guys said, no, about the same. Why, does he look stronger to you? I said, yeah, he does. I said, the ball's coming off his bat a little bit differently than it has. Of course, that one home run he hit last year against Oakland and won a ball game, he crushed that one. But it looks to me like he is, the ball, his bat's livelier is a better way to put it.
Yeah. And I have no doubt, especially with his defensive prowess, that he can play. The question is, will he be odd man out? And for him, as for so many of these young players, it becomes a numbers game, and sometimes you're just not going to fight your way onto a ball club.
Well, Dwayne Wise is here.
Yep.
So, I mean, you know, that's for Dad, that's for sure. 1-1. It's up high. But we've got some good-looking young players over there.
Well, I was going to ask you about Marcus Semien, who I know you like.
I love him. I tell you, he looks really good. Carlos Sanchez, they call him Little Alomar, which is, you know, you go call him Little Alomar.
Yeah.
He's got to be able to do something right. Roberto Alomar, one of the greatest players to ever play the game.
Oh, I thought it was the old man, Little Sandy Alomar.
Yeah, that's going to fall. So Tanks is going to score. Jordan in with an RBI, his third of the game. And it's 5-0.
Third RBI of the game, fourth of the spring, and a little looper that falls in front of Bogusevic. He's really a first baseman playing left field. And he's another guy who has his work cut out for him, because they got a first baseman who's now playing for Italy in the World Baseball Classic, Anthony Rizzo, who looks like the real deal. I believe he's going to be at first for quite some time in a Cub uniform.
I know before I saw him, Robin had seen him, and Robin said he is the real deal.
Yeah.
So here's Jimenez, caught looking his first trip. But yeah, we've got that Marcus Semien is a good looking player. We've got some guys over there who look like they know what they're trying to do. And I guess the key word in that statement is approach. Is that's into left field, but the Sox put up a crooked number, a 3 spot. We'll go to the fourth, leading by 5.
grief from the guys about how old you are. I mean, other than that, I don't think too much about it. I mean, I think it as, if you're a player on the team, you have a job to do. You get everybody has to contribute in some way, whatever their job is, to the team. But we have a good group of older guys here. I mean, Adam Dunn, Jake Peavy, Matt Thornton. There's guys. We have a good group that kind of keeps everybody together, and it's a fun group. We had a good time last year, so I don't think there's. I mean, you definitely know who the older guys are, but I don't. Our team kind of everybody has an equal voice, and the young guys have a lot of say so and stuff too. So it's done well, I think.
Top of the fourth inning, 5 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for our guys. No runs, 2 hits, no errors for their guys. And now joining us up here in the booth is a man who, last year we had a new manager. This year we've got a new general manager in Rick Hahn. Rick, congratulations, buddy, and welcome to the booth.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, you had a good mentor, and you still have him.
He's still around.
That's the best part about it. That's not very common in baseball, is when a GM leaves, that he stays with the club. Now, John Schuerholz did that. Frank Wynn has the the flexibility now of having John Schuerholz counsel. I mean, you have the same thing with Kenny.
Absolutely, and frankly, that was a big part of the appeal in me following through with what was originally Kenny's idea, allowing him to head out and scout more and use his player evaluation skills, and allowing me to ascend up to this role now. And as you point out, I have arguably the most successful general manager in the history of the franchise available to me as a sounding board, a player evaluator, and just continue to be a mentor. It's a real nice situation for me.
Well, you've heard me say it, in my opinion, there's no question he's the greatest general manager in White Sox franchise history. But for you, for now, being on your own, calling shots, and making some moves, coming in like a veteran GM, making some moves, as there's the leadoff single by Castro. Was there anything you didn't expect? If you run up against anything you didn't expect talking to other GMs?
I think the part that I probably should have been more cognizant of, having sat next to Kenny for the last 12 years, was that the perfect move wasn't going to walk through that door, Hawk. And I kept early on wanting to make what was a move that not only our scouts felt good about, that fit in the clubhouse chemistry, that our objective analysis guys were comfortable with, that resonated with the fans. And those opportunities are few and far between. And over the last decade plus, we've had a couple of opportunities to have those happen, but I was really eager to make one of those happen right off the bat. And that situation just didn't arise just yet, so we were able to make some smaller moves, some other things that sort of involved a little bit of risk, a little bit of upside here and there, and arguably, we feel, made us better suited to compete.
Rick, very rarely will a general manager come into the job and the owner says, here's the open checkbook, go out and get anybody you want. Make any trade, doesn't matter how many years you got them for. That obviously didn't happen with you, so you pick up Jeff Keppinger, who gives you a lot of insurance, gives you a bat that's going to make some contact. But we were talking about Connor Gillespie and just going and finding Connor Gillespie and what he means to this team. What happens in a situation like that? I mean, how important are your scouts to identify this guy and you to look at this guy and say, you know what, he fits perfectly with our team?
Yeah, and Gillespie was a guy that had been on our radar screen going back to the 2008 draft. San Francisco took him in the sandwich round. Same year we took Gordon in the first round. And is a left-handed hitting third baseman who's got the ability to get on base a little bit, has a short, compact swing that's easy to maintain if he's not playing every day, has made significant improvement at third base defensively over the last 3 years. There was a lot of things pointing in his favor in terms of how he would fit on this club, whether it's a compliment to Keppinger or a guy who can move around a little bit and play a variety of roles for us. And that goes back not only to our amateur scouts who saw him at Wichita State, it goes back to Kenny, actually, too, having a conversation with his son, who was a teammate of Connor's at Wichita State in terms of the kid's makeup, and as well as some of our development guys who have seen him play over the years and how he could possibly fit on this team. You know, frankly, the biggest move we probably made was re-signing Jake Peavy right at the start of the offseason, which we thought was essential to allowing us to compete with anybody from a pitching standpoint, given how he sets up our rotation. Once that move was done, it did become more about finding those complementary pieces, the Keppingers, the Gillespies, the Lindstroms, guys who fit in and provide Robin a little bit more flexibility in how he sets a lineup on a daily basis or how he works matchups.
Well, you have a former #1 draft pick that was set back with a terrible ankle injury, and that was Jared Mitchell. And how's he looked this spring?
Jared is one of the real nice stories out of this spring camp, and it's been a good camp all the way around. But Jared, you know, I think back, and Hawk, I think we talked about this a little bit at Sox Fest. Buddy Bell, our assistant GM, came back from Instructional League, and he wouldn't stop talking about the progress that Jared made with his swing. When we took him out of LSU, obviously he was a raw talent, having played football for them and baseball, and he was set back by missing a year with that ankle injury. But there was something very specific mechanically that we wanted to do with his balance and getting him more on his legs than he was as a collegiate hitter. And this past Instructional League, Buddy felt that they finally got through to him, and he made that adjustment, and we've seen it thus far in camp. Not only is he healthy, but he's more on his legs, he's swinging the bat well and playing real good defense. He'll start the year in Charlotte, where he'll be playing every day, but it wouldn't shock me if he becomes a factor for us some point this season and certainly next.
Well, he's got that quiet confidence. That quiet confidence that's very, very impressive. You know, I was just sitting here listening while you're talking, and Doug Wellman and his staff, since I've been here over 30 years now, this is the best scouting system that we have had. There's no question about that in my mind. His there to strike him out, and he's safe. So Castro in the second, and that's one down. But then all of a sudden, okay, I don't care how good you are at your job. Unless you've got good amateur scouting, you're going to really struggle.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so you've got that. Now all of a sudden you've got Kenny. Now all of a sudden you've got an assistant GM and Buddy Bell. You are blessed to be sitting in the cradle.
No, you're absolutely right. And I'd even add to that mix another man in Marco Patti, who's upgraded our international operations, our scouting operations in the last 15 months or so since he's joined the organization. And look, I'm fortunate enough to work for Jerry. I'm fortunate to work in my hometown. All of which mean the world to me. But at the end of the day, when I look around and see the support staff that was going to be here, the Doug Lauman, Buddy Bell, Kenny, Marco, the guys who work in the front office, like you said, that's truly what dictates the success. The team of scouts that each of those guys have put together, team of coaches and player development, and the message that they're all on the same page delivering. That's where the real great opportunity comes for me, not just being with Jerry, not just being in my hometown.
Well, you know, to me, in all my years in this game, the greatest general manager that I have ever seen was John Schuerholz. He and Bobby Cox were the greatest tandem, and if you don't believe it, just check out 14 consecutive divisional titles. There's no argument there. And you know what John was like? He was a guy that came into baseball and never played the game. He understood people. He understood what he had. And he never would make a move without consulting his baseball talent. And by talent, I mean minds. As that is out number 2. I remember he wanted to do, when I came in as a rookie GM, you know, after the 85 season, he wanted to do a deal with me. He said, I'm going to do the deal. He wanted Harold Baines. I said, he said, will you trade him? I said, I've never seen a player you can't trade if the deal's right. So I told him what I wanted, and he said, I will take the deal, because he thought Harold was the greatest player. He said, but I've got to check with Hauser first, who was his manager. He calls me back the next morning. This was the World Series in St. Louis, and said, Hawk, I love the deal, but I can't make it because Dick and his coaching staff think we're giving up too much. So, and that's the position you're in. Same as John. You've been around now for long enough. You know the game quite a bit, but you have access to an unlimited checkbook in that arena. No, that's very true. And as you pointed out with the analogy to Hauser, I'm blessed here with the coaching staff and Robin and Don Cooper and Jeff Mano and Mark Parent. The rest of them all we've created an environment here, and this goes back to Jerry and Kenny, where there is that free exchange of ideas, where every opinion matters. There's the play at the plate, down in time. They're going to go to first. The ball gets away. There's no advance. So it's a 5-1 ball game. Go ahead. Where there really is no, it's not a one-man operation by any stretch. Certainly I'm going to have my opinions, and I'm going to advocate for them, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a group conversation. If things don't go right with the decision we ultimately make, that's on me. That's part of the gig I signed up for. But I'm going to be involved. I'm going to be soliciting the opinion of the great baseball minds that we've been able to assemble over the last decade plus. Well, Rick Hahn, we are happy that you did not accept any of the offers that you could have accepted. We're happy that you stayed here for the reasons you just mentioned. All the success in the world, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you, Hawk. Rick Hahn, our new general manager. Good luck. Thank you. Ground ball. Sucked up, bobbled, now over to first base. Can't get him, so that'll be an error. 2 on 2 out.
And what happened on that ball is what you see a lot. Number one, the infield is very hard. We told you about that. Number two, if you wait back and you don't make your own hop, well, even you little leaguers know if you let the ball play you have a problem. And that's exactly what Alexi did. He doesn't do it very often. He's a most dependable shortstop, as is Gordon at second. Yet both of them have allowed the ball to play them here today, and cost him a couple of errors.
And here's Darnell McDonald. You know, I was talking about John Schuerholz. It's amazing how similar the personalities of Rick Hahn and John Schuerholz are. They are very, very similar. Quiet, spoken, don't profess to know it all, don't want to try and reinvent the wheel. Take what they've got and work with them.
Well, John,
have them work with you, work with them.
John was terrific in Kansas City and then became outstanding when he got to Atlanta. And the big factor was, you know, Bobby Cox was both the manager and the general manager, and then they moved Bobby into the dugout to give him John to run the front office. And then John, a little bit later, brought along Jim Fregosi.
Big move.
Really did a terrific job for him, and still to this day is the guy they consult with before they make any big move.
Yeah, he has in essence, I'm not saying the power of veto is hook, he gone, and that'll do it. They come up with a run. We'll go to the bottom of the first, leading 5-1. And starting with opening day on April 1st, Bacardi at the Park will open 4 hours before the start of the 2013 home games with half-price appetizers and raffles after every game. So be sure and stop by Bacardi at the Park at US Cellular Field's Gate 5 Plaza.
Not hard to find. Just look right across the street from the ballpark, and there it is.
Pretty good, too.
It is.
Gordon Beckham will start it off for us here in the bottom of the fourth. And along with Steve Stone, Ken Harrelson on our first telecast of spring training, and here it is, March 15th. I am so glad they backloaded it, though.
Well, so am I.
First time.
Yeah.
For the first time ever, it's been backloaded.
But we're going to see more of the everyday guys, and we're going to see them consistently instead of seeing 3 innings of them.
Called off. Bogasevic. So Gordon now 0 for 2.
And one of the things we've seen today from Gordon is something that he really has to get away from. Last year, he was in the top 5 in the league in hitting the ball in the air. I mean, he was there with some of the big sluggers who do that. Now, Adam Dunn can get away with it because a lot of them go out of the park. But Gordon Beckham really can't, and he can't consistently.
Well, when you're a 32nd of a second late, you're going to pop it up. You're going to pop it up. When you're a 37th, second of a second early, you're probably going to ground it out. That's why hitting is such a precise art. And Gordon is just, he's strong for a little guy, but he's not strong enough to be hitting the ball in the air like that. And I think with what Jeff Manto has got him doing, laying off the bat a little bit, is going to help him get on top of it and pick up that short amount of time.
Well, if he can go back and remember back, and I'm sure he's looked at endless video of that first year coming to the big leagues and driving the ball to right center field, he was hitting the daylights out of it.
Well, they're starting, as you know, because you read enormous amounts of baseball news and see games. They're starting to talk, in my opinion, in the right vein, and the word approach is starting to come into the equation more. It's not mechanics. Mechanics is a killer. You have got to let your thoughts dictate your mechanics, not your mechanics dictate your thoughts. And that's what they're starting to do now. You do, the way you do that is with an approach. You try to figure out who's pitching that day, what kind of stuff he's got. As we've talked about before, you've heard me say this, Stone Pony, is Ted Williams, arguably one of the greatest hitters, if not the greatest hitter ever lived, went through a routine, 3 things every day when he was at home. They didn't have iPads and iPods back in those days.
No.
He called a ballpark, and Helen was the telephone operator, as that hanger is hit foul. First thing you want to know, Helen, which way's the wind blowing? Is it blowing in from right or in from center or out to left? She'd tell him. Who's pitching for them today? Sam Smith. Who's behind the plate? Who's the umpire behind the plate? Then he would take those 3 factors and he would think about it. There's a line shot, base hit, get through. Alexei going to give it a go. Here's the throw. Not in time. Hits him. They got him on the elbow.
And that is going to be it for Ramirez, who will leave the game after going 1 for 3. That low fastball driven into right center field. Realizing Scherholz is going away from the throw, he takes one off the back. And it might have got him in the back of the elbow.
So here's Adam. Adam has walked, singled, and scored. But Ted would take those 3 elements and he would factor them in. He'd picture the guy's best fastball or sinker, whatever he was, best curveball or slider, whatever it was. Factor in the umpire strike zone, which they knew a lot better back in those days because they only had 8 teams and they had American.
I was going to say, you saw them more because the umpires were split.
Yeah, and you knew what their strike zones were. And he would think about those 3 things. So when he got to the ballpark, his approach was right there. And that's what they're starting to do now, is factor in who you're hitting against and how you can be dangerous against them.
Well, the easiest way, if you go into locker room before the game, any major league locker room but ours, you see Brian Johnson, he'll give you 50 at-bats against a certain pitcher that you've had, and you can go back and see 50 at-bats against one guy, see how he worked you each and every time, what he threw in certain situations, and have a pretty good idea when you go up there what that guy's going to depend on when he gets you in that situation.
Well, you just put the key element in there, certain situations.
Sure.
Because they're not going to pitch you the same way with nobody on as they will with a man on first and third and 1 out.
It's true. Well, no pitcher wants to show you his whole card early in the game.
Oh, we've had a few over here in the past few years that did.
Yeah, well, when
they're no longer with us.
No, then late in the game, then you get hurt. But there was a fellow who has been around baseball a long time by the name of Ted Simmons, who had trouble with a cutter if it was up on the inside part of the plate. And the first 3 times up, I went right there. I was a young pitcher, and I got him out 3 times. And in the 8th inning, I went there again with the bases loaded. And he doubled in the right field corner and drove home 3 runs. Because I had showed him definitively how I was going to get him out. A veteran pitcher would have thrown inside for a ball but gotten him out away. You know, give him a different look. I hadn't had enough experience to realize that just because you can get a guy out, you can't get him out all the time there.
No. As there's ball 4. No, there's some hitters, if you show them, or if they get a good idea of what you're going to do with them in certain situations, you're in trouble. Big trouble.
And that's going to be it for Adam. He's going to leave the game.
All right, a pitching change for the Cubs here in the bottom of the 4th inning with.
So I'm
Well, we've got a pitching change, and it's Hector Rondon coming into the game for the Cubs. So Feldman lasted 3 2/3 innings. He'll leave losing 5-1, but his responsibility is on the base paths. And we've got a couple of new base runners. It's Sanchez at second, Gillespie at first. They've taken over the spots occupied by Ramirez and Dunn. So a chance to add to the 4-run lead for Paulie.
Paulie has singled sharply and doubled sharply. Also has scored a run. 2 on 2 out here in the bottom of the 4th. 5-7-2 for us. 1-4-0 for them. First pitch strike. If you're just tuning in, 1 home run in the ball game, a 2-run blast by Jordan Danks in the 2nd inning. Jordan also with an RBI double in the 3rd. Outfield straight up, spread out. That breaking ball on the way.
One man competing in might be able to break with the bullpen is Chris Russin, the left-hander who was briefly up last year. He would be the 2nd left-hander in that bullpen along with Jeff Russell.
Good eye.
This might be the last at bat for Paulie today. What's he looking for from a guy, Hawk, that he's never seen?
He just, as good as he's going right now, he just looks for the ball. There's only a couple times a year you can just look for the ball and you can hit it. And really, at that particular point in time, hitting is not that difficult. When Paulie, I was just getting ready to say before you said this, Stevie, Paulie is, in essence, the last 3 years, eliminated 3 or 4 inches on the outside part of the plate from the pitcher because of his approach. He will get that out there, and it's a strike out there, but he'll foul it off. He'll poke it foul right over by the dugout and everything else. So he's really made himself. He's a professor. He's got a PhD in hitting. I mean, he's just really, and he can do it, in my opinion, as I said last year, he can do it for another 3 or 4 years if he wants to. There's a breaking ball, just does miss, so that'll load him up. When you can hit with a 14-inch plate versus guys who are hitting with a, like I did, a 21 or 22-inch plate, who's going to hit the most?
And there is Paulie. He will depart this one. So 2 for 2 with a walk, a run scored. Another great day. He came in hitting .355. He's probably 5th in the Cactus League as Anderson takes over.
Brian Anderson in the run for him. Tanks. A line shot to the first baseman, then a soft single knocking in a pair in the third. Lays off the high fastball. There's a pitch, though. You were talking earlier about what's it going to take for him to learn how to lay off the breaking stuff away. That's the pitch right there that if he can ever learn how to lay off of, the high fastball. I'd rather have him lay off that pitch than have him lay off the breaking ball the one away.
Well, I think the one similarity between pitchers and hitters is that you have to learn to keep your weight back. Because if a hitter goes out too quickly, he's got no chance on an off-speed pitcher breaking ball. If a pitcher opens up too quickly, he's got no chance to throw strikes. And that's what they teach to both of them.
Oh, you got a cookie right there, just underneath it.
How many times have we said that Gavin Floyd opens up a little too quickly and that curveball just spins up there? And that was a rolling breaking ball that probably, and we said it earlier with Castro, a little later in the season, a few more at bats, and Viciedo hits that ball awfully hard.
That ball hit awfully hard to right center field. Stretch. He goes back. He looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes. A grand slam homer for Tanks. And the Sox lead it 9-1.
That fastball out away from Viciedo. It was probably a little above belt high. And as strong as he is, that one long gone.
Yeah, there's not another guy in the American League who has better power, right-handed hitter I'm talking about, better power to right center than Viciedo. We've got to get down to Charlotte in the minor league camp that has got that kind of power. Randy Ruiz, who can hit it 9 miles to right center field. The Tanks got that live bat. There's a strike. Glenn was hit by a pitch, scored, then he popped up to second. He got a hanger and pops it up.
Okay, so what makes a live bat? Because I've seen guys bigger than Viciedo, bigger than Ruiz, and they can't hit the ball near as hard or as far. Why is one guy's bat lively and this guy who might be bigger does not have that?
The release. It's just like some pitchers. First time you ever saw Mariano Rivera when he was a starter with the Yankees when he was a kid, you could tell he had something special out there. He had that release. Same thing in football with quarterback Joe Namath, who had that quick release.
Yep.
And hitting is your hand strength and your wrist strength. That's why Bad Henry Aaron, could hit so many home runs, and he could hit them to right center field. So he was not as strong as Viciedo, but you could hear the sound And when he was taking batting practice and you were doing something else, you knew Henry Aaron was in the cage. Carlos Delgado, you knew he was in the cage. Viciedo, you know he's in the cage.
The interesting part about Hank Aaron was he was a right center field hitter as a right-hand hitter most of his early career. And then when he became the prolific home run hitter that he became a pull hitter, left center down the left field line.
He was a front foot pull hitter, which is very unusual. Big Frank was a front foot hitter, but he was not a pull hitter. As that ball is into center field, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Yeah, Frank didn't start pulling the ball until after his first 8 years, and they were just killing him so much inside. The only way, as you know, as a pitcher, the only way you're going to get him out of there is to hit out of there. So Steve Tollison, son of Wayne Tollison, former White Sox shortstop, in to run. So here's Jordan, 2 for 2, a 2-run homer and an RBI double. And they pop up to left field. But some damage done by Diane Viciedo, the tank. Grand slam homers, 9-1 Sox.
Good day today. He's fanned 5. He's given up a run on 3 hits, and he's had a very good curveball right from the beginning of the game. Hector Jimenez has caught him very well because if you have a good curveball, you're going to bury a few in the dirt. And Gavin has to be very happy with this particular outing. He was going to go into the 5th, and depending on how many pitches he throws here, he just might get himself 5 innings. If not, if he has some problems, they'll go to the pen, and the pen is working.
Brad Nelson, 1 for 1, a sharp double in the right center field. Pull the string, grabs the strike to even the count at 1. 9 runs on 9 hits, 2 errors for our guys. 1 run on 4 hits, no errors for their guys. That ball hit well in the left. Mitchell going back at the track at the fence. He's there. Piece of
cake. Jared Mitchell just coming into the game out of LSU. And Hawk, you talked about nothing intimidating him. When you play football in that stadium, in that conference, for that team, not much going to intimidate you.
No. No. In that conference, no, you're right. Jarrett's had an outstanding. He has impressed everybody. You know, poor guy, first year, breaks an ankle, and then that's it.
That was a terrible, terrible injury.
Yeah. He was drafted. They voted him the fastest man and the most athletic in the draft.
Okay. And there he is, making his mark this spring.
Yeah.
They've changed a few things. He does have a lively bat. The ball does jump off the bat, and his athleticism is without question.
That's up high. Valbuena. That struck out and reached on an arrow. Ball took a bad hop on Beckham. Two down.
We got some defensive changes. Connor Gillespie will check in at first base. Sanchez is at short. We've got Tollison at third. We told you about Mitchell in left field. So as so often happens as we move along in the spring, especially the middle of the spring, the regulars are rested.
You know, we were talking earlier about having our television schedule backloaded for the first time.
Yeah.
We got 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 26th, and 27th. And Steve mentioned the fact that the fans like that more because they're going to be seeing guys they're going to be seeing during the regular season, rather than seeing a lot of guys out there they'll never see again up front. There's a nice inning. Is presented by authority of Chicago White Sox and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Chicago White Sox. Bottom of the fifth inning, 9-1 Sox, and a pitching change.
Well, it's Frank Bautista coming into the game as you watch those gentlemen leaving for a group outing, I think.
Organize a group outing of 20 or more for a Sox game during the 2013 season. Receive savings off the individual game ticket price. Enhance your outing by upgrading to our new Miller Lite Bullpen Party Porch, pregame patio party, diamond suite, or one of four of the great party areas. So call 312-674-1000 or visit whitesox.com to book your group outing today.
Frank Bautista split his year last year between Tennessee and Iowa. Was pretty good at Tennessee. Things didn't work quite as well in AAA for him. But he's still young. He's 23 years old. And he's got a good arm.
out of Santiago, Dominican Republic.
Hector Jimenez. Late entry into the lineup for Tyler Flowers, who had a stiff back. And Tyler hitting .316 with a homer, 3 RBIs on the spring. As Hector checks it up, takes the strike, and they evens the count at 1. Bounce that back. Want to send out a big White Sox hello to a huge Sox fan, Seth Sharon. Seth, of course, with Gold Coast tickets. You need tickets. That's the place to go. Seth Sharon. Also, Al and Ann Lerner looking in today, big Sox fans.
And a dear friend of mine, big-time insurance exec,
Jill Estep.
Jill Estep. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Terrific. Way to
Just
go.
getting ready to ask you, is Jill looking in today?
She is looking in today. She's ecstatic about the early results of this one.
Got him. Breaking ball coming in.
So Bautista was pretty good curveball, catches the inside part of the plate. And Joel Huspadka, the home plate umpire, rings him up. We have Dale Scott at first, Jim Wolf at second, and Stu Sherwater is at third. Doing a fine job today.
First pitch strike to Gordon. Gordon has popped up to third and popped up to left. And if you have not seen any film of him, you'll see a little different angle with his bat. That's a little flatter over his right shoulder. It was much more vertical since he's been in a White Sox uniform. They decided to make the change, and it looks like it's going to pay off. Well, some of the best hitters in the game have had manufactured swings. Some of the best pitchers in the game have had their motions rebuilt. And of course, I think the greatest example of that was a poster child was Doc Holliday. He went down to the minor leagues at his own request.
I was going to say, I would think that that would probably be a great example of it.
There's a chopper, 2-hopper deep in the hole. Castro with that beautiful talent. He has beautiful talent out there at shortstop.
I'd like to add my condolences to a man that was a part of the Cub family for many years, Jimmy Farrell, who was in charge of the umpires room. Wonderful man. I had the pleasure of spending a great deal of time with him. He passed away last year. Jimmy Farrell, remembered in the media guide, and condolences to the Farrell family. He was a wonderful man.
Dwayne Wise can't get it. Wayne had lined hard to left, struck out, and lined hard to first. Yeah, I never met Jimmy, but I heard about him.
A good man. Never met anybody who he didn't like, and I don't know anybody who didn't like him.
Short and quick with that swing. Meanwhile, yanks it foul. If he hits it hard, that's the only place it's going to go. And the count 1-2. Sox with 2 in the second, 3 in the third, and 4 in the fourth. Grand slam homer by Viciedo. 2-run homer by Danks in the second.
Dale Swaim's going to have his hands full. He knows that. His ball club last year, 3rd worst in the major leagues in run production.
He just muscles that one down the right field line. Stay fair. You can put it on the board. Yes. Homer number 3 on display for Dwayne. And it's 10-1.
RBI number 6. And I don't think there's any doubt about it. He's my pick to click. And when you can drive in the 10th run in a close game, that's got to get you
some things
the pick to click. Well,
some things never change.
That's a big run because that kind of puts it away.
Uh-oh. The crew.
With the crew.
And Viciedo.
Yeah, but you know what? They should be given big odds because you and I pick guys who don't play a lot. Viciedo's a regular.
Well, you know, Fillmore. He's
front runner. He's a front runner.
He is the biggest front runner. Skip Ellison, our director. Two balls and a strike, 2 out. Sanchez, a chopper 2 hopper. He almost patted it 1 too many times. Meanwhile, a homer by Wise will go to the 6th, leading by 9.
Well, you can see it's all White Sox, 10-1. They have out-hit the Cubs 10-4. Cubs have won the defensive struggle, but doesn't mean anything to this point. And we've got Christine O'Reilly in our booth with us, and she's going to tell us about some things that are going to be really interesting. And also, she brought up some beautiful hats. Thank you.
I did bring up hats.
Yeah.
I'll start with the hats. I brought up the green hats that the team is going to be wearing on Sunday to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. We're going to collect the hats after the game and have the guys sign them and auction them at WhiteSox.com to benefit White Sox charities. So games, yeah, we're going to work on Hawk over here a little bit.
No,
I'm not so sure that this is the look we're going with. I love you, Hawk, but that's not a good look.
It's pretty good when you wear it over the earphones.
He says it's not big enough. I'm like, you won't be wearing the earphones. But yeah, so the guys will be wearing them on Sunday, and then we'll auction them off. So.
Nice play by Sanchez, who just came into the ball game.
But I wanted to talk about, we've got some great news, some really exciting news, and something that I think many fans know about, but I want to make sure that we get the word out, and that's the amazing ticket pricing we have this year. You know, we've really made some aggressive cuts in tickets to make White Sox baseball affordable for as many guests as possible. We've got first of all, parking. Parking was $23 or $25 last year. That's coming down to $20. We've got nearly 5,000 seats every game, 5,000 seats every game, where tickets in the lower deck are going to be available for as little as $20 per ticket, and the upper corners and the upper deck tickets for $7. So we really feel that, you know, we're trying to create an opportunity so many people can come out and support the club. Family Sundays, 13 Sundays, sponsored by University of Chicago Comer Children's Hospital.
Not only that, but Hawk and I and DJ and Eddie will be signing autographs along with players on the 13 home Sundays. And what could be more exciting than that?
I can't think about what could be more exciting than an autograph from the four of you. I'm going to be first in line that first Sunday, April 7th. But, and the ticket pricing. The ticket pricing is amazing on Sundays. First of all, parking on Sundays is $10. We've got most of the seats in the lower deck, the bleacher seats, the outfield reserve seats, some of the box seats in the corners downstairs are only $15. And then the tickets upstairs, the $7 tickets will go down to $5, and many of the other tickets in the upper deck are going to be available for as little as $10.
Well, first of all, there's some very good attractions coming up. We open up with Kansas City. Everybody says they're going to be much improved. Mm-hmm. And then that first Sunday is against Seattle. And after a pretty tough road trip, we come home with a weekend against Minnesota. Cleveland comes to town, and then Tampa Bay, who's got a pretty good team, also comes to town, and again another Sunday. So you've got 3 Sundays in April. You've got Seattle, that on the 7th. On the 21st, you have the Twins, and on the 28th, you have Tampa Bay.
So again, we just, you know, we talk to our fans all the time, and you know, I think that we were the first to admit that maybe we were priced a little bit high, and it makes it tough for families. You know, things are still tough, and we just wanted to make sure that, you know, we love for the ballpark to be full. You know, you talk to the players, they love it. They love when the fans are behind them. It's really important. It creates such a cool atmosphere. But I think it does encourages the team too. So you can't just say, hey, we want more people out at the ballpark. We owed it to our fans to do something about it, and that's where some of these aggressive ticket discounts have come from.
Well, the players, you know, there's just a different feeling when you come to the ballpark knowing that there's going to be a fanny in every seat.
Right.
And they're going to be open arms, just wanting to love you.
Yep.
Go out there and get a base hit or make a good play.
You know, the other thing that we're doing is, I know the game operations staff, we have a terrific game operations staff, and they're responsible for the show. They have done so much work this winter trying to come up with new features and new scoreboard features and great music. So I think, you know, not only are the prices great, but the show is going to be great too, and the team is looking great.
Well, that's the thing. We've got a good ball club.
Yeah, we do. So it's, again, we're really looking forward to it, you know, so we hope, you know, as many people come out as possible. Tickets are available for sale right now at WhiteSox.com. The box office is open every day of the week for people to come out and buy tickets. And we also have some great season ticket packages still available for sale. We've got a 14-game plan, we've got a 27-game plan, and, of course, the full season plan. So there's lots of ways for people to make their plans to be a part of the season.
And I also want to throw in my own personal opinion on the food at the ballpark. The Bertucci boys, #1, and all of the concessions. I got to believe we have the best food in baseball, and I've tried most of it, as Hawk will tell you. And I like
Only
it
when it was free.
Well,
Ouch.
well, I mean, that goes without saying, but no, it is delicious, and I think that people are going to be.
Yeah, I think the show, the food, the affordable parking, the ticket pricing, the team, you know, and I think it's, you know, I think fans themselves would agree that when you're at the ballpark and there's lots of people sitting around you, that it just makes the experience all that much better.
Well, like Steve just mentioned, you're not going to beat the Bertucci boys and the Levy brothers. I'll tell you, you might tie them, but you're not going to beat them.
Yeah. You know, Delaware North Sports Service that does the concessions out in many of the main parts of the ballpark, they always are tweaking the menus and everything from Cuban sandwiches to the standard hot dog to the corn. People eat that corn, the roasted corn with the mayonnaise and the butter, and you've had that, right, Steve?
Oh yeah,
extra mayonnaise,
and
extra
more,
butter.
and a tremendous amount of butter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, April 1st is opening day. We do have very limited tickets still available for opening day. Understandably, not all the discounts are in place for opening day and the Cubs Sox series, but every other game of the season, they are in place. And the website is such a great resource for just kind of seeing the different ticket prices and the different seat locations.
It's a 10-1 Sox lead here in the top of the sixth. And Christine, you brought some good news. You brought some beautiful hats, and you brought us a 10-1 lead.
I love it.
And Christine, he gone. Nice 2 hitters there for Nate Jones. Christine O'Reilly, thanks for coming by.
Thanks, guys.
She's
It's
a
my
White
pleasure.
Sox treasure, this young, beautiful lady.
Thank you.
You can book your outing of 20 to 56 people in our new Miller Lite Bullpen Party Porch. The catered package includes food and beverages for 3 hours. Enjoy all this inclusive area with some of the best seats in the house from our renovated tables in the Miller Lite Bullpen Sports Bar.
And we've got a new pitcher. Zach Roskopf comes out. He was acquired from Tampa Bay along with Matt Garza and Fernando Perez in a deal that sent Chris Archer, Robinson Chirinos, Hak-Ju Lee, Sam Fold, and Brandon Geyer to the Tampa Bay Rays. There's a look at another left-hander bidding to make an impression. Last year, he was at Mesa, Peoria, and Tennessee, got as high as AA, so he moved around quite a bit. 24 years old, 6'2", 205 pounds, so he's a good-sized left-hander.
And Connor Gillespie making his first plate appearance. Came in to run for Adam Dunn. Adam today, 1 for 1, 2 walks, 2 runs scored. Outfield, for the most part, straight up, bunch just a little bit. Steve and I were talking with Jeff Manto this morning about his hitters, and he said this guy has just been barreling up the ball, squaring it up almost every at bat.
Well, that shows you what good scouting and, you know, knowing you're not going to get a guy for a couple of years because he was a supplemental pick, a sandwich round pick for the Giants. But if he ever comes available, he's a guy that you can need because he swings the bat from the left-hand side. He can place them first. He can place them third. That's going to be pretty important. And he's got a short stroke, which means that he's not going to be overswinging, and he's going to make some contact normally.
Lays off, and the count goes to 2-2.
You don't have a strong left-hand presence on your bench, then you're going to have some problems, and you can never have too much insurance at third, especially in a situation that the Sox find themselves in at this point.
Well, if you don't have a strong left-handed hitter, it makes it so much easier on the other manager.
Yeah.
Not that the guy has to perform all the time. It's just his presence, as you mentioned. Presence on that bench makes that other manager do some thinking. Good short swing right there, but underneath it.
If you get a long swing, it's going to be very hard for you to make that transition from an everyday player, which is what minor leaguers are mostly, to a guy that can hit off the bench in the major leagues. The shorter the stroke, the easier it is to get an at-bat once every 3 or 4 days and keep that stroke.
And there's a good at-bat. He draws the leadoff walk. Well, the White Sox over the years have had some good short-stroking left-handed pinch hitters. We like to Smokey Burgess.
He was one of the ultimate at the time.
Oh yeah, well, he was one of the better ones. And then of course Jerry Harrison for many years was there, and Jerry was a switch hitter, but he was much more effective. He hit more against right-handed pitching. Good short stroke. And you had Spanky LaValliere, who I used to love to watch Spanky run. But he'd come off with that little short stroke of his and get a base hit for you occasionally.
You were the one that loved to watch him run.
Yeah. those little steps. His feet were moving, but the body wasn't going anywhere.
I'll tell you what, he got a lot out of his career.
Oh, he
really did.
He was a great teammate, too. Those guys loved him. Ron Anderson can't get it. Count evens at 1. I'll tell you who's really swinging it about well with a good short stroke. He shortened it up even since last thing is Dwayne Wise. Dwayne is dangerous when he walks up to that plate.
I think it's a great reacquisition to the ball club. Obviously, he was an integral part of the team a few years back. He had to let him go. Again, became a numbers game. And then when he was sitting there and could be had, there was a hole for him here, and he fills it nicely.
Oh, boy, does he ever. He's right where he should be in that White Sox uniform. Two and two the count. 10 runs, 10 hits, 2 errors for us. 1 run, 4 hits, no errors for them. And what a job by Gavin Floyd. He told us prior to the game all he wanted to do was go out there, get his work in, and get 5 innings, and he went 5 1/3.
And he didn't walk anybody, and that's one of the keys for him. Whether it's spring training or any other time, that curveball came to him early, which is something that doesn't happen. Fan 5. I mean, it was a very impressive performance for him, and certainly did more than get his work in. He looked like he was very close to midseason form.
Well, he was pitching up and down a little bit too. Hitters don't mind guys who just pitch in and out, but when you get guys who pitch up and down, they got a problem. Did a pretty good pass at that one. Fouls it back.
Nice crowd today. It's absolutely a gorgeous day. Now we're getting a little cloud cover, but before then, Those temperatures hovering in the low 90s.
Checks it up. He did not go. So back-to-back walks.
Anderson does indeed check his swing. The appeal to Stu Sherwater, and he said, nope, didn't swing. As Dale Swain would say at 10-1 in spring training, looked like he swung to me. Especially when you're going to Las Vegas after the game.
And according to who you are, as a hitter, a lot of times it doesn't bother you one bit.
No. Not at this point.
Not at this point in spring training. So here's Mitchell. A tremendously gifted athlete. Stopped by his locker last week. I said, Jared, you're feeling pretty good about yourself, aren't you? He just looks up with that big, beautiful smile of his and goes, yeah.
Well, he's in a situation where, I mean, everybody would love to stay in the major leagues, but he's got too much talent. He's still too young to bring him up and not play him. When he comes to the major leagues, he has got to come to play. He can't come to sit. And that's why Mitchell's going to go down and he's going to get 4 or 5 at-bats every day and sharpen his skills. And eventually, when he does get here, and it appears that he will get here, he will be an everyday player in the major leagues.
And this is when Chris Bosio is going to go out there and say, what in the world are you trying to do?
Suggest to him that you're not going to make any ball club unless you get the ball over the plate, and we don't care if you get hammered, but throw strikes.
So here comes the home plate umpire, Hospadka. Joel Hospadka, who's had a good game today. And the count 2-1 to Jarrett. And of course, our next game will be coming your way on the 22nd. That will be against Oakland.
And that's a night game.
That will be at 9:05 Central Time. Friday the 22nd. We'll also have the 23rd, the 24th, the 26th, and the 27th. All those games will be over Comcast Sportsnet. And of course, on the 27th, that's getaway day. We break and come back home.
The advantage you fans will have if you do tune in, and we hope you do, is that you're going to see pitchers who are making their last start, getting ready for the season. You're going to see players who are getting their last at bats, getting ready for the season. And that's going to be as close to regular, normal in-season baseball as you're going to get, which is why this year the schedule for television was backloaded. So that's going to be it. Going to be a very short inning for the young left-hander who couldn't get the ball over the plate. So we are going to have a pitching change, and while we do that, we're going to step out, and we'll be back after these messages. Along with some great pitching, the long ball was in evidence, and it started with Jordan Danks in the second inning. It was a scoreless game at the time, and he took it out in right center. Then the grand slam by Viciedo, this coming in the fourth, and the biggest one of all when the game was in jeopardy. Wayne Wise made it 10-1. He's my pick to clip. That sets it up for Tony Zik to come in the game. Old number 97 with the bases loaded and nobody out. If you make the ball club and you're wearing number 97, you've had yourself quite a spring.
And Steve Tollison will be the hitter. Steve, son of Wayne, who was the shortstop. Wayne played 10 years in the Major League with Texas, our Sox, and the Yankees. In fact, I traded Wayne Tollison back in '86.
How did he play for you?
Played good, solid. He was, you know, wasn't a great shortstop. He was a good shortstop. He was a good, solid player, great attitude, and great teammate. So here's Steve, born in Spartanburg, South Carolina. 15, 18 miles from my birthplace of Woodruff, South Carolina.
Spartanburg had the Phillies minor league team for a lot of years.
Sacks packed with Sox, nobody out here in the bottom of the sixth inning, and Sox leading 10-1. Trying to take that one into right field. Meanwhile, the count 0-2. You missed our interview with Robin Ventura early on. Robin, very, very pleased with the way everything has gone this spring. And as Steve told you earlier, for the most part, injury-free. He's pleased with the way Johnny Danks, even though his numbers are terrible, is improving. He said the first outing was short. Second outing was even shorter, and then it started getting better and better, which you've had arm problems before, and it just takes time.
Well, it does because, well, first of all, long after the pain leaves, the psychological aspect of an injury lingers. For John, you don't worry about that so much. What you want is the arm strength. You want the return of the arm strength, and that's the velocity.
That ball hit high into left field. Gillespie, he's tagging. He will score on the sacrifice fly by Steve Tollison, and it's 11-1.
Johnny Danks showed me a whole lot a couple of different times. And one, when you throw in game 163 and you throw the kind of game he threw against the Twins and allowed our Sox to win 1-0 on a Tommy homer, I mean, there's not much more pressure than game 163. That's number one. Number two, 4 runs in, nobody out, runners at first and third, and he had a completely blue index finger when Ozzie went to take him out of that game. And Johnny Danks said, nope, I want to stay. He not only stayed in the game, he got out of the inning without any more runs and threw 6 innings when most guys would have been on their way to a hospital wondering about no circulation in the index finger. Those were 2 of the things I'll remember about Johnny Danks, and that's why I know that he's going to be plenty tough enough.
Jordan drills one into the gap. That's going to score a pair. So Jordan Danks with 5 RBIs today. 2-run homer, RBI double, and a 2-run double.
All 3 walks have come home to score, which is usually what happens in the major leagues. All charged to Russ Cup. But what a day for Jordan Danks. Wow.
Yeah, he had gone hitless then the other day. He had 2, and now he's come back here today with 3. So here's Josh Fagley making his first plate appearance for Hector Jimenez. Josh, 25-year-old receiver. He got a chance to be a good one.
Well, we both talked with him before the game, and I know you like, number one, you like his attitude and makeup. How about his overall game?
He's got a chance to be a good hitter. He is a good catcher already. Fouls that one back, but he had that sickness to do with his platelets that really knocked him for a loop for a whole year. I mean, maybe a little over a year, and he's over that now completely well. He finished up strong at Charlotte last year. Started off good, then hit a tailspin, and finished up strong. He's going to be in the big leagues with somebody. Pops that pitch up. Got a good pitch to hit. And that is out number 2. There's another one of our good-looking kids, Carlos Sanchez.
You remember your first major league camp?
Yeah. Yeah, vividly.
What was it like on a daily basis when you stepped on that field for the first time?
Well, that's hit hard back through the middle. So here comes Jordan. He's going to score. And it's 14-1. Sanchez. Carlos, he's just 20 years old. Switch hitter. Last year, Birmingham in 119 at bats, hit 370. Started off in Winston-Salem where he hit 315. He's got a chance. As we talked about, Steve, we got some good-looking youngsters. We looked at some this morning.
Yeah, and this guy is not going to have a whole lot of power. He's not going to need it. But he does make solid contact. And he showed last year that all he needs is at-bats.
Yeah, my first major league spring training camp was in Bradenton, Florida with Kansas City. And back in those days, things were a little different than they are today. You may remember the old Bradenton clubhouses. I don't know if that's before your time.
No, I played, well, I trained in Sarasota, and Bradenton was Pittsburgh at that point, right. And we would go up there and play them, and they weren't exactly luxury clubhouses.
They weren't. In fact, we didn't have lockers. I had a nail. For the rookies, they had a 2x4 paint plastered across this one side of the wall. The major league players, the veterans, had lockers.
Yeah,
I had a nail.
But a nail's good.
Well, it worked.
It didn't spoil you.
Take my clothes off, take my uniform off the nail, put my clothes on the nail, and then go out and work out. Plus, you had 2 choices for lunch. You had a cheese sandwich with 2 pieces of bread, a piece of cheese, or 1 piece of chicken, either the leg or the wing.
Those are good sandwiches. Those leg sandwiches.
They were great. There's barehanded, and he throws them out. So Brandon Short is thrown out. So now damage done. 4 across the plate, and we leaves it 14-1.
The patient.
a reminder, bring your family to the ballpark for our all-new Family Sundays presented by the University of Chicago Medicine Comer Children's Hospital. Tickets start as low as $5 and parking is just $10. Kids' activities include pregame player autographs and running the bases postgame. The White Sox and Comer Children's Hospital teaming up to promote a healthy lifestyle and combat childhood obesity.
Got a brand new battery. Dylan Axelrod, who's having a great spring. He's 2-0. His ERA 1.13 in 3 appearances. That's what he did last season. But he's got great control, and he's going to throw the ball to Josh Fegley, who stays in the game. Blake Ducote is playing center field.
First pitch strike to Navarro. Deanna Navarro has grounded to second. Beckham made a good play to get him, and he is singled. Had him off balance out in front. And Dylan, whose uncle is a prominent sports agent, Barry Axelrod. Barry has been very successful in what he does. And he just went down and got that one and dug it out. As we mentioned up front, Navarro has always swung the bat well against us.
Well, I think for the Cubs, he's going to be a very good addition as a backup for Wellington Castillo. Because he is a good hitter, he does catch it and throw it pretty well, and that's all you can ask of your backup catcher. And he will make some contact.
Here's Bogusevic. He's 0 for 2. Brian in left field today, normally a first baseman.
With Houston, he showed he could put a charge into it. He's a pretty strong hitter. But it's going to be very difficult for him because he doesn't have a lot of versatility as far as the field is concerned.
And that's lined hard into left field. So Jerry Mitchell will get it back in. And sitting right next to us, the new broadcast team for the Cubs. Jim DeShays is here, but he's not in there right now, along with Ben Casper. Casper, terrific announcer, as is DeShays.
I talked with Jim before the game. Long-time pitcher. You were looking at Mick Gillespie, who's with the Cubs minor leaguers. He's taking a turn with Len Casper, who's a terrific broadcaster. And the Cub fans are going to like Jim DeShays.
Yeah.
He's a left-hander and has the ability to bring a pretty good picture to the game with him. Did a long time with the Houston Astros and certainly ecstatic about getting the job.
Two terrific guys.
They'll do well, and they're going to have to reach back into a lot of their vaudeville acts because this is not going to be a great year, but yet another rebuilding year for the Cubs.
Oh, he got a cookie there. Didn't do anything with it. Fouls it back. Did McDonald. McDonald is grounded to third and struck out today. Yeah, DeShays, I thought you were going someplace else when you said he's a left-hander. He's the sane left-hander.
Yeah, he is one of the saner left-hand pitchers.
He's not your typical left-hander.
No.
Nice pick by Begley. Nice shift right there by Josh.
It really helps if the catcher has good mobility to both sides. But when you're able to get your body in front of a breaking ball in the dirt to your right, you got a lot of grateful pitchers. Because that's runners on second and third and nobody out, and it takes a double play out of the equation. So if this is a double play, thank Begley.
Backs that one off. Count hangs at 2-2. If you're joining us late, Sox with 2 in the second. There was a 2-run homer, a long 2-run homer by Jordan Danks. They scored 3 in the third. And then in the fourth inning, Tank and Viciata with a long grand slam homer to right center. Another homer by Dwayne Wise in the fifth. Another 2-run double by Jordan Danks, who was 3 for 4 today with a homer and 5 RBIs, and he gone.
Another good friend of mine, Mike Layden, looking on, celebrating his birthday with all of his dear friends in his hybrid vehicle. And it shall always be said, never has somebody so old given so little to so few. So, Mike, enjoy yourself.
Here's Brad Nelson. Checks it up and takes strike one. Brad has that double. Then he went out deep to left field, taking Jared Mitchell back up against the fence.
Got some umpires in the stands that wanted that last one. $10,523 in the house. You know, there was a big article in the newspaper the other day about how attendance was down about 1/3 around the Cactus League, and one of the big reasons, there's a couple of them, but one of the big reasons is the weather just hasn't been all that good. Now the weather has been terrific for the last 5 or 6 days, and I would anticipate that the crowds are going to start to pick up, certainly. And then of course there is the disruption of the World Baseball Classic, which is a wonderful thing, but a lot of the good players are representing their various countries, and that takes them out of the equation in the spring. And of course, you just can't overlook the economy, although this area is coming back, and that's really good news to the people in the Valley of the Sun. The real estate market is making a great comeback. With it, tourism is starting to come back. But I think the weather was the biggest factor this spring.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. I think, 2 years ago, in all my spring trainings, good breaking ball down and in for out number 2. That was the greatest weather I have ever seen. There was every day was perfect. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. Last year was really good.
And how about the snow and sleet this year?
This year was not very good.
No. Very difficult. It was windy. It was cold.
Well, we were sitting at home watching the match play with the snow, and that's only like 20 miles northeast of Tucson. So Dillon gives up a couple of hits, no runs. 7th inning stretch, we lead it by 13. Sox schedule during April. There you see that opening homestand with the Kansas City Royals. I mentioned coming into the action, the Royals were 15-2. And we have Seattle, much improved ball club. Our division, Steve, is going to be a little different this year. There's going to be a lot more parity in the American League Central.
Well, Cleveland certainly improved themselves, obviously getting Stubbs, play the outfield for them along with Bourne, and they're going to be a bit better. And then the road trip to Washington, Cleveland, and the 4 in Tampa Bay, in Toronto. And a lot of people feel that Toronto is the team to beat in the East. So there you look at a new battery as far as the Cubs are concerned. It's Marcus Hadley who's pitching. Steve Clevenger takes over behind the plate. Clevenger is in a battle to make the ball club. The advantage he has is quite obviously he can catch.
And that schedule brought to you by Miller Lite. It's not just a good time, it's Miller time. Yeah, when you got Stubbs playing in the outfield hitting ninth, that's not a bad lineup.
Well, look at the speed of Bourne and Stubbs that they added. Now, they lost a pretty good hitter in Chu. He went in the trade to Cincinnati. I think he's going to have a big year in Cincinnati. It's a great park to hit in. And that lineup is pretty well loaded.
He's a really good player. Chen-Su Chu is a solid player. And I know you and I are happy to see him gone.
There's no doubt. He could really hit, got big hits, was a terrific outfielder with a great arm.
Sanchez fouls that one away right side. 14-1, Sox lead it. Kansas City, of course, much improved. And last year we played those Royals 18 times and we won 6 times.
Kansas City essentially has the same lineup, although I expect Hosmer to be a whole lot better than he was. But they added Wade Davis, they added James Shields. That's 2 big guys in their starting rotation to go with a very strong bullpen. Their bullpen is terrific.
Good plate coverage right there by Sanchez. Plus, the last 4 years, Kansas City, regardless of what the season totals were, Kansas City played us tougher than anybody in that division. Every game, even the ones we won, was, it was just tooth and nail. So here's Gillespie. Connor started off that inning 4-run 6th with a base on balls. It's lined into center field. So here's Brian Anderson. If you joined us late, we talked early. We had that interview with Robin. Robin likes his ball club. We had the interview with Rick Hahn, our new general manager. But I would say one thing. We catch the ball better than anybody in our division, and that should bode well.
Last year we caught the ball as well as just about anybody in baseball and didn't make quite as many double plays as most because we didn't have a lot of ground ball pitchers. But if we got near it, which we did most of the time, we did not throw it away and we didn't give up unearned runs.
Well, we gave up, what, 34 unearned runs, which by far was the least in the major leagues.
Mm-hmm. That is the one hole, or one of the holes in the Detroit arsenal, is the fact that they don't catch the ball very well. But they added Victor Martinez coming back. They added Torrey Hunter, another leader. Martinez and Hunter are leaders in that clubhouse to go with guys who are already there. And Anibal Sanchez in their starting rotation. So if Detroit is going to be done in, it's going to be because of a porous defense and a bad, especially back end of the bullpen.
Well, the guy that has killed us over the years, one of a Sox killer, has been Victor Martinez. Victor just beats our brains out. He is just, and for him to be back in that lineup when you got the best right-handed hitter in the game, Cabrera, and you got Martinez and Fielder backing him up, he's liable to do it again.
No, to me, their lineup has very few holes. Austin Jackson at the top is just outstanding and getting better. I got a scouting report from a friend of mine who scouts for the Phillies, Gordon Lakey, and he told me that if anything, he said, what should scare most people if they're not scared enough, Cabrera is in better shape than he was last year. Fielder is in better shape than he was last year. And, of course, the year that Victor Martinez sat out, the year before, he hit 400 with runners in scoring position. So, along with Torrey Hunter, that offense is pretty strong top to bottom.
Well, Victor's just a guy who's one of the best clutch hitters in the game. He'll get you in 7th, 8th, and 9th innings just about as well as anybody. And we said last year, before the season started, that the key to that ball club was Austin Jackson. And did he ever come through? He caught everything. They did not have good defense in right. They did not have good defense in left. They didn't have any range at first. They didn't have any range at third. Now, whatever Cabrera gets to, he's going to catch. He's just a terrific player. But now, Austin Jackson is coming into his own, as you mentioned, and he is some kind of good player. There's a strike to Jared. And there's a shot. Well, that ball's just hammered. Here he goes in the second. He will get there easily. So the 2-out double puts Anderson at third.
Well, there's an example of just how lively the bat of Jared Mitchell is. And then realizing that the center fielder was going to have to do a 360. No chance to throw out Mitchell at second base. So heads up base running. And a rocket through the infield.
And his last inning, he walked and scored. So he's had 2 good at bats. And here's Tollison, Steve, with a sacrifice fly last inning. Outfield for the most part straight up. And he takes ball 3. There's one. 14, 14, and 2 for our guys. 1-6-0 for their guys. Once again, a reminder, our next game's coming your way on the 22nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 27th. That's Getaway Day coming back on. All those games will be over Comcast Sportsnet. Steve pops that one up, and that'll retire the side. So the Sox, they threaten. Don't score. We're into the 8th, leading 14-1. And you can follow our White Sox with MLB.com @bat for your iPhone, iPad, and Android. Get spring training scores, stats, highlights, live audio, and more. Text @bat to 31826 or visit WhiteSox.com for details. Sox lead at 14-1 here in the top of the 8th inning. First pitch to Darwin Barney, misses. Darwin has bounced back to the pitcher, hit into a 6-4 fielder's choice, and going out to right. There's a breaking ball, get me over, breaking ball, strike.
Well, Dillon did a terrific job of getting out of a jam last inning. Gave up leadoff singles and then strikeout, harmless ground ball to first, and that was it. So the pattern continues for him this spring of being pretty close to untouchable.
Well, Dillon's got to have the total package. And fortunately for him, he does a lot of the time. He has to have command of all of his pitches. He has to have the ability to change speeds like he can. He cannot pitch from behind in the count.
No, and also do what you were talking about is not only throw in and out, but he has to throw up and down, because without a big fastball, you can't allow hitters to lock into a certain spot. I mean, if you allow them to lock into thigh high to knee high, they're probably going to hurt you. You have to show them a face high fastball, letter high fastball every now and then, or you're going to give up a lot of runs.
Well, in the last 35 years, there has not been a pitcher in the American League who knew how to pitch up as well as you did when you won a Cy Young. I mean, everybody said, well, he's just, strictly a breaking ball pitcher. Sure, he was a breaking ball pitcher. He struck out a lot of guys on fastballs, almost face high.
Well, I didn't want him to hit a fastball in the zone, and he had to use it when you were ahead of the hitter. And I always believe that it looks so enticing, and it only has to be 85 miles an hour, 86. That's all it has to be. Just make sure it's out of the zone, and the only thing he can do with it is miss it, foul it back, or pop it straight up.
There's Schierholtz. Yeah, there's some sayings that are so true in baseball. Like in hitting, show me a guy can't be jammed, and I'll show you a bad hitter, because that means he's looking inside all the time. A pitcher, show me a pitcher can't pitch inside, and I'll show you a loser. And another one is, show me a pitcher that knows how to pitch up, and I'll show you a winner. That knows how to pitch up. That's the key word in that adage.
Go up by design instead of by happenstance, because catcher's sitting low and away expecting the ball there, and all of a sudden it rides up. The hitter probably going to hit it hard someplace.
There's a shot. Kevin Tapani, when Minnesota had him, and then when we got him for a short period of time, Kevin was of that ilk. When he got wild in the strike zone, like Dillon is now. And when you get wild in the strike zone and you miss the spot, that's that precise. I still to this day think that pitching is the toughest position in all the sports to play. Because any pitch time you throw a ball, you can ruin your career. Your career can be over. You have to be so precise because these major league hitters are so good.
Oh, yeah.
And they make a living. You make a good pitch on them, you get them. But you just make a little bitty mistake, and they absolutely will get you.
Well, that's one of the reasons why, and this has been true since '68. We talk about that '68 season. You talk about, watching Louis Tiant pitching for Cleveland. And a lot of people talk about Bob Gibson as that one gets away. Bob Gibson had a 1.12 ERA. Louis was 1.60. Denny McClain won 31 games. That was all in 1968. And that's when they decided to lower the mound to give the hitters back something, because pitchers were starting to dominate everything.
Yeah.
And then they allowed hitters to armor up the lead elbow. And when they did that, it took away that fear factor of standing close to the plate. And a lot of guys locked themselves in. And now they've forgotten how to get away from pitches. Guys are hit with pitches 2-3 inches inside.
Well, they hit themselves. Probably 70% of the time, 65 or 70% of the time, they hit themselves. Well, you know, you just brought up a key element in all my years in this game. My 54th year. It's been interesting to see the change in the culture of the game itself. And Harold and I were talking about it last year. Harold Baines, our assistant hitting coach. The fear factor in the game today is almost nil.
No, you throw one inside, and all of a sudden the umpire, before you know it, is warning you.
That's right.
And you can't go in there again because you're afraid you're going to leave the game.
That's exactly right. On a scale of 1 to 10, when I came in, the fear factor was real and doing well. It was on a 10 on a 10.
There's no doubt.
Today, the fear factor is less than 1.
Well, for me, growing up and watching you play was something that I'll never forget.
Truth hurts.
I mean, really. I was 3-4. I remember going to the ballpark, watching you star in '68 with the Sox. That was something.
Yeah, as I said, the truth hurts. As that's out number 2. No, but it's different today. It's tougher pitching today than it ever has been in my 54 years.
Well, they've lowered the strike zone. Obviously, I mean it's been with and it's been a while from the inflatable chest protectors, but now with the umpire in the slot getting between the catcher and the hitter in that slot, it's become a low ball league. You throw it now an inch or 2 above the belt, it's high. It was never like that. Consequently, you've created, used to be every right-hand hitter was a high ball hitter, most left-handers were low ball hitters, and now you've created a league of low ball hitters who take high pitches, and they take them and they're called balls.
The first real good low ball hitter to come into the American League is at his ground ball right side to do a lot of damage as a rookie was Mark McGwire.
Yep.
He was his first one. Meanwhile, we have completed 7.5.
Out here.
Our Miller Lite player of the game, and it can be none other than Jordan Davis. What a day he's had. A home run, a 2-run job. Then a bloop base hit. And then a 2-run double. 3 hits, 5 runs driven in. And Jordan Davis is our Miller Lite player of the game. Miller Lite, it's not just a good time, it's Miller time. And Trey McNutt comes into the game in the bottom of the 8th. Seventh Cub pitcher of the day.
Fourteen, 14-2 for our Sox. 1-7-0 for their Cubs. And here comes Blake Ducote. He's made a nice impression. All the guys that Rick Hahn has picked up have made a nice impression this spring.
Well, I think he's had to mix and match instead of going out there and getting that big free agent acquisition. Number one, he has some contracts and he has established players in position, so not that much competition. But also realizing that this team didn't need a whole lot. And so you go to San Diego and you get Ducote, and you go to San Francisco and you get Connor Gillespie as guys that can fill in and fit in when it's necessary. Because if you make a move, everybody'd like to make the move that makes your team 5% better. The reality is that that move isn't out there because many times it's very costly, or you can't give up the players that they want in return. So Ducote can run. It's a pretty good idea how to play the game, and along with Gillespie is a good acquisition.
Well, we talked about Dylan Axelrod has to have his total package together. Ducote is the same way. He has to have, but you mentioned a big key in there. Good idea on how to play the game.
Yep.
That is for a manager. They don't like to see mental mistakes. And especially the guy wearing number 23 for us, because he didn't make mental mistakes.
Now, if there is a spot left on the bench, it most likely will go to a guy who can steal you a base late. You want to have that guy coming on to pinch run for some of the bigger sluggers late in the ball game in a situation that can win you the ball game. And Ducote is one of those guys that can steal you a base.
Well, that kind of a guy, to me, is on a contending club is more important than having a good pinch hitter, because this guy will see more action in more crucial situations than that pinch hitter will. When you can steal a base and you can be successful 95% of the time, and not many guys are successful like that. But if you're going to be a specialist on the ball club, like when Oakland A's brought up, some of those speedsters they had that could steal a base, then that is, he's going to have here's what he wants. He's going to have a second place hitter that he can count on to make contact. That means he is freed up to go ahead and make some moves. And he's hopefully going to have that guy you just mentioned, the guy who can steal a base late in the game.
Well, you and I both agreed that if you're looking at the lineup, quite obviously your number 3 hitter is your best hitter, and your number 4 hitter probably your most prolific run producer. But the key to a whole lineup is a number 2 hitter, and the ability of a 2 hitter to take pitches, hit down in the count, let the base stealer steal some bases, and make contact or bunt him over when he has to do that. And you don't find a lot of 2 hitters in baseball that have the ability to do that anymore.
And you know what's the sad part about it? You don't have a lot of 2 hitters in the game that understand the responsibility of hitting in a 2-hole. They don't understand it. When Tony La Russa made that move in 1983 with our Sox, put Carlton Fisk in the 2-hole, Carlton, knowing the game, understood the responsibilities. And he was not afraid to take 2 strikes and let Rudy Law steal a base. He just was not afraid. And then later on, it was Julio Cruz when he'd be leading off. So that team took off after he inserted Carlton Fisk into the 2-hole. Now in 05, as we mentioned earlier, Tadahito Iguchi, I'd like to have a dozen golf balls for every time he hit 0-2. He was down in the count a lot, waiting for whoever's going to steal. And it just set the whole offense up.
Well, you have to have a lot of confidence as a hitter to take pitches and possibly get down 0-2, knowing that you're not going to strike out. I talked to Tony Gwynn, who won multiple batting titles and one of the great hitters of his era. And he said, sometimes he would go 5 pitches deep just to force a pitcher to get a little bit too much of the plate. And that's a ball that he just knew he was going to be able to put in play, hit it hard, and get a base hit.
Well, Tony had one of the great approaches.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Used the whole field always.
Yeah. Well, one of the smartest hitters in the game today is Miguel Cabrera. He is just a smart hitter. In fact, in my career, I was talking with a writer a couple of months ago that called me, and I told him, I said, in my career, in this game, as Josh strikes out, 3 best right-handed hitters that come in the last 50 years in the American League are Frank Thomas, Manny Ramirez, and Miguel Cabrera. And one of the reasons, all 3 of them, because they were smart. They had great approaches.
As I say, both pretty hard to beat guys who can hit the ball out of the ballpark, hit for a big average, and drive in big runs.
Right. Against good pitching.
Yeah.
Two down. Sanchez now 1 for 2.
Well, for a lot of years, and maybe once again, if he has a resurgence, even though last year was a pretty decent year, Albert Pujols would have fit nicely into that. I mean, the early years watching him hit, he was just devastating because he didn't have one spot. He was very much like Cabrera. There wasn't one spot where you could throw him where you could say, I'm going to consistently get him out there.
Well, for the second half he had with us, that might be the best second half I've ever seen an offensive player have. But he wasn't as smart as those other 3 guys. They had a better approach on a consistent basis. And one of the defining thoughts for me of last year, because you and I both felt so bad that our club was spitting it out there at the end, boy. Couldn't drive in a run.
No, that was tough.
Was when Cabrera faced Hector Santiago, and he got a base hit on a screwball. Punched it right between first and second. Maybe the softest base hit he got all year. And yet, when he left that box, he looks over and points at the dugout. And what he was telling me, I told you I was going to get that screwball. That's something Manny Ramirez would do. That's something Big Frank would do. Brandon Short. Brandon grounded out to third, his only plate appearance. Outfield straight up. There's a strike, and the count 3-1. And I have a second here. Big shout out to 2 huge Sox fans in Granger, Indiana. Nico and Alexander Hawthorne, who are watching in this evening. As there's ball 4. And that'll bring up Angel Sanchez. Runners at the corners, 2 down. Sox with 2 in the second, 3 in the third, 4 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, and 4 in the sixth.
Clevenger goes out to talk with McNutt to suggest perhaps at 14-1 you might want to get the ball over the plate. Plus it's about 94 degrees down there.
You're the best, man. I love listening to you on the score, man. You're the best. Good work, bud. Ventura, you're my favorite. My password to everything is 3523. Thomas, Rhonda Ventura.
Another strike in the count, 1-2.
Mark Barrett.
Large portion of the crowd has exited. Nice crowd, 10,523. Fouls that high breaking ball off.
I know my team so much, I know.
But it's nice to see what the Sox are doing too, bringing back former players, putting them in the minor league system. It was nice to see Britt Burns over there, Vance Law. I'm telling you, Britt Burns, that game against Baltimore in '83, one of the gutsiest performances I have ever seen. Tito Landrum.
A Lend-Lease player from St. Louis that Baltimore picked up in time to hit that home run, and that offseason, very shortly after that, they sent him back to St. Louis.
And both teams knew if we had won that game that Baltimore was getting Lamar Hoyt in the final game. As he pulls him off the bag. That should be a base hit. Run scores and is 15-1. Richard Dotson over there, not pitching coach in AAA.
Connor gets on base right here. He starts third. Keplinger's second. Gordo on the bench.
That was really a wonderful pitching staff.
People forget what good stuff Britt Burns had when he first came in.
There's no doubt. Had he not had the hip problem, there's no telling how good a career he could have had.
Good deal. Good deal. Good deal, Rob.
You know, that season that he was in between starts, he was on crutches. Showed you we were talking about external and internal. Britt had plenty of that internal. Had him off balance out in front. Pulled a string on him. Nice pitch. Gillespie has walked, scored, and lined out the center.
Well, that year he had to be fairly certain whoever came out of that battle in the American League was going to take Philadelphia in the World Series.
And did easily. And everybody knew it. I was playing golf with Rick Dempsey, the catcher, a brilliant catcher. And you know how competitive he is.
Oh, boy.
So I was on him about that final game. I said, now, Rick, just tell me, if we win that game, who's going to win Game 5? He looked at me and smiled and would not say a word.
Well, and I'll tell you why when we come back that Rick didn't want to say a word.
All right, we're into the ninth, leading 15-1.
You're right.
Ty Wright pinch hitting for Brian Bogusevic. Bogusevic was 1 for 3 today. Sox lead at 15-1. There's a strike, and the count evens at 1. 3 home runs in the ball game if you're just tuning in. 2-run shot by Jordan Danks in the second. Grand slam by Tank. That was in the 4th. And Dwayne Wise solo shot in the 5th. 1-2 the count to Wright. All right, you're going to tell us about why Rick Dempsey would not say anything?
He is, because we were both members of the '79 Oriole team that was in the World Series, up 3-1 against the We Are Family Pirates.
That ball hit hard. Mitchell can't get there. Pulls up, knocks it down.
And we had the final 2 games in our ballpark, and they didn't have anybody to start the 5th game. So they brought Jim Rooker out of their bullpen to get 5 innings, and then went to the entire bullpen. 1 game 5, 1 game 6, 1 game 7. Went on to win the World Series, and of course we went on to ignominious defeat. So that's one of the reasons probably why he didn't want to see the White Sox go into game 5 at home against their ball club, and I can't blame him.
With Lamar Hoyt on the bump.
Yes, he won 24 that year.
24, won a Cy Young. Dot won 22 and could have won a Cy Young as well. That ball hit hard but foul. That's a can of corn. Chicago White Sox baseball has been brought to you by Miller Lite. It's not just a good time, it's Miller time. And by Ford, proud sponsor of your Chicago White Sox. Check out America's freshest lineup of fuel-efficient vehicles at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. John Andreoli is the hitter. John takes ball 1. And once again, if you're just tuning in, our next telecast will be the 22nd. Well, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 26th, and 27th. All those on Comcast Sportsnet.
The one great thing about these games, obviously this has long been decided, and the regulars are long gone from the game. But some of these guys getting an at-bat, this might be the only at-bat they ever get in a spring training game in the major leagues. And so for them, regardless of what everybody else thinks, this is an important moment and one they're going to cherish if it's their first at-bat. And sometimes they never get another shot. Injuries, who knows? You run out of talent, wrong man, wrong spot. It can be any number of things.
That ball hammered. And it's a home run. It's on the top of the fence. So Andreoli comes up. And just as Steve was talking about how important this at-bat is to many of those youngsters, you just saw one. It is 15-3. And in spring training, in a game like this is when it's really tough to pitch.
There's no doubt. But that ball up and on the inner portion, Andreoli gets enough of it and gets it out.
Here's Valbuena. He's 0 for 4 today.
That is the face of a very happy young man. Don't know how many more opportunities he will have, but on WGN today against the Chicago White Sox, he hit a 2-run homer.
1-2, we got one to waste, Rob. Come on. Come on, I would love for life you put it in
The 1-2 delivery.
Close enough. Close enough. I'm going to pretend like you called for that, even though I didn't see you move at all. Pretend like you said, bring it in.
If you missed the interview with Robin Ventura earlier and you're concerned about the progress of Johnny Danks, Robin said he is pleased with the way it's coming along. Now, the numbers obviously are not good, as there's a little soft comebacker. And Johnny was very upbeat after the outing yesterday.
Wait, shake it off, Dylan.
All you really want at this point is the pain not to recur, because you know, at his age especially, and with surgical techniques being as they are, the strength is going to come back. It's just a matter of time until that happens, and if the pain stays away, things will look rosy again, because he's going to be a big part of this rotation. We certainly need him healthy.
Strike one to Darwin Barney. And the alternatives, Steve, for that spot, if in fact Johnny is not ready by opening day, as Robin, we were talking to him, are who?
Dylan Axelrod certainly is one of the guys that you would consider. In fact, I would think he'd probably be the guy, but you know, you got the left-hander who showed so much last year, Santiago, after being given a shot to close. And Hector, I am not sure that's really his role, but he might have the opportunity also. However, we do have a left-handed starting. We have a lot of lefties in that starting rotation.
You know what? It doesn't make any difference if they're all good.
That's true. That's true.
Hector, in his final start last year, went 7 innings against Cleveland. No runs, 1 hit, 1 walk, had 10 strikeouts. Full count with 2 out here in the top of the 9th. And that's ball 4. Elliot Soto, the shortstop. Takes first pitch strike. Second pitch strike. Well, Mully's got to be happy. And he's got to be set.
Yeah, Brian, I don't think is too happy with this performance, but then again, it is the spring. A long way to go. And when you travel in the spring, you have to bring 4 starters, and a lot of guys named Bob.
That's going away. Don't nibble with him. Make him swing the bat. Fouled away right side.
Guys, make an effort.
And the 2-2. This should do it. And this ball game is over. So the Sox come in here, score 2 in the second, 3 in the third, 4 in the fourth, and continue on. They win at 15-3. We'll be back.